We are we are the statewide Family Engagement Center from InSource, and I am Natalie Hicks, the Assistant Director of Outreach. And what we do is provide services, knowledge to schools, districts, liaisons, family engagement teams, whoever is engaged in family engagement, and we are the center to help you for Indiana statewide. Now, our EFFECT team, and EFFECT stands for Engagement for Families and Educators Community Together, is working on the second year of the grant. We received the grant in October of 2023. And you could go to the next slide, please. And we have 5 model sites that's helping with the EFFECT grant. And what those model sites are doing is learning, gaining knowledge, providing information to their school districts and you as well. So the 5 model sites you will hear about a lot about in the next hour or two. We have Gary Community School Corporation. We have Goshen Community Schools, Metropolitan School District of Warren Township, Bartholomew Consolidated School Corporation, and Perry Central Community Schools. As you can see, these school districts are located throughout the state and their demographics are completely different from each other. So I'm sure that you'll gather great insight for what they're doing and their family engagement journey in their school district. Next slide, please. Today, we have the wonderful Carla Hempstead, our keynote speaker. She will begin momentarily. And then we have MSD of Warren at 10:30, Perry Central at 11, BCSC at 11:30. 12, we will have Goshen Community Schools. And ending our conference, we will have at 12:30, we will have Gary Community Schools. Now, we understand that your time is very precious and you guys are educators and you're doing a great job. Now, if you need to pop in and pop out, feel free. If you need to put your camera on, take your camera off, feel free. This is being recorded and we're going to provide the slides to each of the presentations so you can have it now and in the future if needed. Next slide. I want to take the time to introduce our keynote speaker. We are honored to welcome Carla Hempstead, Director of Family and Community Engagement at the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. With over 23 years of experience as a parent and family advocate, coach, and mentor, Carla has led impactful initiatives in family engagement. She currently oversees the Parent Ambassador Program, empowering over 60 staff members to support schools in creating strong family-school relationships. Carla's passion lies in helping parents and caregivers discover their value as a partner in their child's education. She brings a wealth of expertise in leadership, social work, and project management, holding certifications from John Carroll University and Kent State University. Carla has 3 adult children. She has 7 grandchildren ranging from ages 6 to 19. Her children extended children and grandchildren remain an important part of her passion and purpose, along with her parents. Caregivers discover their value and bring as partners in their child's education. Can you guys help me welcome Carla Hempstead?
Thank you so much, Natalie, for such a kind introduction. I want to first say that it is an honor to be here in front of you today to share with you some of the experiences and strategies that were implemented at Cleveland Metropolitan School District that helped us to move the needle on family engagement and sustain some pretty good systemic practices as well as practical strategies as well. So my hopes is that during my presentation, you will be able to glean at least 1 or 2 strategies that you could implement at your program to help with effective family engagement. Now, let me explain to you what I will do with my presentation. First of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about Cleveland Metropolitan School District. And why am I doing that? Not to brag. I'm doing that because it is something that we all need to know, that context matters when it comes to family engagement. I could throw you out a strategy, but if your structure and your program is different from mine, then it won't work. You'll have to do a little tweaking. So I want you to know a little bit about Cleveland Metropolitan School District so that you can understand a little bit about why we do what we do. And hopefully you can use that same thought process to use something that could be effective for your program. So I am going to share my screen. And let me go back here. So as Natalie mentioned, I'm the Director of Family and Community Engagement at Cleveland Metropolitan School District. I've been in that role in Cleveland for about 8 years. It is my second run around Cleveland. I was there before and worked in a different capacity. But then I brought I kind of wanted to come back because I did a lot of work with early childhood education programs. And I noticed that family engagement dropped off tremendously at the K-12 era. And while it was a very good approach during early childhood education, I want to see why that was happening and try to learn more and utilize some of my experience to help that family engagement increase. So this is a little bit about the Cleveland story. We have an enrollment of just over 36,000 families. We actually have about 94 buildings. We have pre-K 8 schools. We have models here. We do the pre-K 8 model. We eliminated middle schools a little while ago. We have about 31 high schools. We do have 2 remote school options that came into place after COVID, because there were a lot of families who decided not to come back into brick and mortar, but we did not want to lose them. So we created a remote school option, and that's 2. We have a K-8 and a 9-12. And then we have an online building, which is specifically for those who, for some reason or another, are not able to attend the traditional school due to medically fragile or different other medical reasons, where it does not include the asynchronous synchronous model, but they do training and they're able to access a tutor anytime that they need. We are about half and half when it comes to gender. We have a very large, about almost 64% of our students are students of color. We have 17% that are Hispanic, 14% that are Caucasian, and then we have other. About 23% of our students are special education. We have limited English proficient, and Cleveland Metropolitan School District is 99% considered economically disadvantaged, meaning that all of our schools, except for one, receive Title I funds with family engagement allocations. 3.8% gifted, 5.5 gifted, and 3.8 homeless. The structure of our department, our family engagement department, is as follows. We do have an executive director who sits on our senior leadership team, which is an extremely important point to make, simply because family engagement is more effective when you have buy-in from the top down. And that's something I'm pretty sure we already know. When we have that a voice on the senior leadership team, we're able to infiltrate some systems that normally we would not have been. And I'll show you the result of that as I speak a little bit more. But of course, I'm the director and I supervise our FACE coordinators who work directly with our schools to support them in effective family engagement. And I also supervise our parent ambassadors. We do have a parent ambassador program, and that we're currently funded for 54 of those parent ambassadors. And I'll talk a little bit more about them towards the end. We also, in our department, have a manager of volunteers and special projects. We also have a program manager who does a lot of our marketing and technology. Technology is moving so fast, you guys, that we need someone who can take kind of keep up with that and be and is able to present the FACE department, not only to our families, but to the community, but to the district as well, in a way that is easily accessible. We have an office assistant, and again, we have four FACE coordinators who support 6 networks of schools. That's how we break down that big cookie of all those schools they're putting in networks, and each network has a support structure. Due to our recent budget crisis, we did have 6, but we lost 2 of our positions, and so we were down to four FACE coordinators who support the schools in family engagement. It would be remiss if I made you believe that we do all this by ourselves. We do not. We have many partners. All of them are not even listed on here. This is just a visual of some of the partners that we have. One of the really important ones that we have is a Say Yes to Cleveland education, where Cleveland was one of the cities that was awarded this philanthropic pursuit that allows all of our students, any student who attends Cleveland Metropolitan School District from the 9th grade all the way through the 12th and graduate, will receive funds for a full college scholarship. And there's a list of colleges that they're able to go to where they are able to attend without having to worry about how to pay for it, which is totally awesome. When they announced it, I think everyone in the audience just had their mouth open. No one clapped or anything. They just like, is this real? Yes, it is real. They also provide us with what we call family support specialists who are at each one of our schools. But then, like I said, these are some of the departments and partners that we have. One of the things I want to tell you about Cleveland is that I learned very quickly is there's a lot of resources and supports in Cleveland, in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Like we have a department for almost everything. We have a separate department for attendance. We have a separate department that supports our homeless community. We have a separate department that supports social emotional learning. I mean, it's just everything. The most challenge is breaking down silos and creating those collaborations that support our families, because it's quite a bit. One of the things that we have is we have our core values in the department that when doing training, I always like to just kind of feel the room to see if those family engagement practitioners support these values. And these are what we have adopted to ensure that we're delivering the best family engagement practices that we can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, it's only about 4 of them, but if you could oblige me a little bit, I'm going to mention them one by one. And if you could tell me if you agree or disagree with the value that I show you, just put in the chat either yes, no, or maybe. Okay. So here's the first one. We believe that all families have hopes and dreams for their children and want the best for them. Do you believe that? You can put yes or no or maybe in the chat. Okay. The next core value we have is, do you believe all families have the capacity to support their children's learning? Yes or no? Maybe in the chat. Okay. Okay. Do you believe that families and school staff should be equal partners in the education of children. Yes, no, maybe. Yeah. Okay, awesome. And last, do you believe that the primary responsibility for building partnerships between home and school rests mainly with school leaders and staff? Yes, no, maybe. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Yes. Awesome. That is awesome. And those are the type of questions, I mean, answers that I would really expect for family engagement practitioners. It's important that we do hold those values. Now, do we believe that every family 100% embody these core values? No, absolutely not. That's not the expectation. But the expectation is that those who are working towards effective family engagement hold these values, because it will affect how you interact with families. It will affect. How many of you believe that the perspective for which you approach a relationship has an impact on the interaction or the value or the value of the relationship? If I don't believe that you have the capacity to support your children's learning, then I will hold back some information from you, because I will feel like it's not worth my time to share it. So what happens to the child who could use just a little bit more info, a little bit more attention, maybe at home with some flashcards, and understanding some of those sight words? That mom or that dad won't get a chance to share that information because some teacher who don't believe, or some staff educator don't believe that they could support their child's learning, didn't give them that strategy. So this is why it is detrimental that anyone working with family engagement, any educator, holds these values as if they are true, so that the relationship can thrive and it could be in a positive manner, because people respond better when they are held with positive regard. And that's exactly what these values do. Cleveland also has adopted the dual capacity framework. And if you're familiar with the dual capacity framework, just put a yes or no in the chat. It is adopted by Dr. Karen Mapp. If you have not, I would strongly suggest that you become familiar with this framework, because what it does, it allows us to understand that family engagement is just not about supporting and guiding families. It is also about supporting and guiding our educators as well, because there are challenges on both ends. We have educators who have not been exposed to strong examples of family engagements, just like we have families who have not been exposed to strong examples of family engagement. We have educators who have had minimal training in family engagement, just as we've had families who have not had training on how to interact with educators. And besides the fact of the negative experiences they may have also encountered when they were in school, that's guiding their perspective of interacting with educators. So we have to address the challenges of both, because family engagement is a partnership. It's a partnership. And just like any other partnership you have, there are rules to relation that you must apply to make the partnership healthy. I simply call it relational intelligence. There are some things that must be in place if you want the partnership to be healthy. So there are some essential conditions. The framework tells us that there must be It must be built on trust. Any of you haven't been in a relationship that's not built on trust, it's not healthy. It's just that simple. It's not healthy. Okay. The difference is this particular relationship, when we're talking about family engagement and families supporting their child's academic progress, it is linked to learning. It is linked to learning, and it's asset-based, and it's culturally responsive, because learning has to be relevant. It has to be relevant. And then there's this collaboration and interactive. It is not us doing anything to our families or constantly telling our families. It's sitting down, talking with our families, finding out what their needs are, what's relevant to them, what's important to them, and gleaning from their experience and their expertise, not only with who their children are, but how they learn and what's important for them to learn. And it leads us down this path to where we have effective partnerships that support student and school improvement. Now, this is not to say that there's not work to be done in providing a foundation for families to be able to work with the schools in a partnership, like ensuring that their basic needs are met. That's true, because we know, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if a family is struggling with how to pay their rent or how to put food on the table, then the whole educational part, building partnerships with them educationally for their child's success, may not be a priority on their list, understandably so. So those things have to be met. But once those basic needs are met, we want to move them into building a strategic partnership that's asset-based and that allows them a voice to be able to contribute the value that they bring to the relationship. And the dual capacity framework does allow us to do that, and it gives us a pretty good strategy on how to do that. We do believe with family engagement that we can start with those activities that just allow time and an environment for the relationships to be built, like the potlucks, the performances, the showcases, the parent resource rooms, the celebrations, the fundraisers. Those are activities that allow space for our families and staff to come together to just get to know each other and be in the environment together and be able to talk to each other. That's important. But the goal is to move them down towards that relationship building, that academic partnering, the ongoing communications, the modeling and learning support strategies, those positive phone calls home, sharing data and helping parents to understand where their children are, why they, why are we teaching them what we're teaching them, how they can help and support those teaching strategies at home, and then creating those goals and sharing in the accomplishment of those goals. So just so that some people say, well, we're done with muffins for mom and donuts for dads, and there are a lot of other names now for that. But those are important at the beginning of the relationship to help build the relationship. But the goal again is to move them to a more strategic relationship where it is built upon partnering to ensure that your child is successful in their academic journey by giving the parents information. Don't shy away from data sharing with parents. They need to understand the data, okay? One of the things that we do, we have district-wide as well as school-based activities. Our district-wide family engagement includes an annual back-to-school meet and greet, and that's where at the beginning of the school year, we welcome families back, and it's just a fun time. Most of the time, they're not even in the building because the buildings are not even set up. But we have like maybe some fun games, bouncy houses, maybe an ice cream social where staff and families just come together and say, woo, we off summer. It's time to get back into our school routine. You meet your new staff. You may have a new teacher, a new principal, or whoever is in the building, and they come together and just have fun on the school grounds to welcome them back and say, summer's over, you guys. Let's get back into school. Our back to school meet and greet and open house is very well attended. very well attended. Families are ready. Children are ready to come back to school. So we take advantage of that by inviting them back into the school grounds to kind of set the atmosphere. We also have, in addition to the meet and greet, open house. And the open house is where they actually do come into the building and they sit down with their teachers individually and they talk about what are some of those things that we're expected to learn this year. Tell me, mom or dad or caregiver, what are some things that I need to know about your student that would help me and teach them better? So it gets a little bit more intimate. And those are what we call district mandated activities. None of our schools have an option on whether or not they will implement any of these events. It is district mandated. One of the things that we also do is what we call a district-wide family engagement fathers walk. And this is a point that I want to make to you guys. And I'm going to show you a little short 2-minute video on this fathers walk, but it's where we partner with, and remember, I talked about the partnerships, which are extremely important. Is not Cleveland Metropolitan Schools didn't come up with this Father's Walk. What we did was took advantage of a county initiative that was already in place. We have a county initiative called the Fatherhood Initiative, and it's funded by the county. And they implemented this annual Father's Walk where they determined one day a year that all fathers would walk their children to school. And what Cleveland did is we took advantage of the fact that we have all these fathers in our building. Okay. So when they walk their child to school, what we will do is have a little breakfast, maybe continental breakfast, and we'll take advantage of the opportunity by pulling the fathers together, telling them a little bit about what's happening academically, how they can support their child. We know that reading is one of those activities that fathers are very influential with when reading to their children. We may give them a book to read with their child, and we may also determine interests in having some father groups that they can interact with throughout the year. But I want to make sure you understand that this is not work that we did by ourselves. This is where we partnered with the county in an initiative they already were creating. So let me show you this 2-minute video.
Today, walking to school with my son means a lot. It's an experience for me, because I never did a father and dad walk, but it's a lot, man. Keep me strong, keep me going.
We are honoring and celebrating this day, which is our annual Father's Walk. Was happy to start my day here and be joined with so many wonderful fathers and father figures of CMSD, and particularly fathers and father figures of our scholars here at Max Hayes. And it's just incredible to see so many of our fathers and father figures across our entire district coming alongside of us to do this important work, raising their hand to say we care, raising their hand to say it's important to have an education, and raising their hand to say it's important to be invested in our school districts.
I want hats off to the fathers that are here, because it's important that they be in their kids' lives, and these are memories that they'll cherish forever.
For me to be walking my son, it's a blessing, though. Really, like,
If you don't support them, who will? Like that's what we got. Our kids, our family.
Today was very important. It's actually my very first Father's Walk. I just got custody of my daughter this year. So for me, this was like big time for me, because I've been waiting to do something like this. So
I want to show them that I care and I love them. Father's Walk is a great idea. It really allows fathers to come and support their kids, and I really like that.
that's our Father's Walk. We also have what we call our District Parent Advisory Committee. And this is where we have representatives from each school. We welcome at least 2 to 3 representatives from each one of those 94 schools to come in once a quarter, and they meet with senior leadership to talk about different things, different initiatives and strategies that they are thinking about to raise parent voice and give that feedback from our parents and caregivers, and help us do some collective problem solving through the parent lens. Recently, Cleveland has underwent a major leadership change. This is the second year of our CEO, who is preceding a CEO that we've had for 14 years. So we're in a major transition, and there's a lot of change with the senior leadership. So things are happening. So you can imagine that. The CAO, which is the Chief Academic Officer, brought to this committee the new curriculum that they are implementing to show it to our parents and get their feedback and see what they think about this new curriculum that they want to implement district-wide. Because prior to this, schools were able to choose their own curriculum at their school. Of course, it was from a list of approved curriculums, but each school could choose their own. So one of the things that the new leadership implemented right away is to make some things district-wide, and one of the things is the curriculum. So we bring these things to this District Parent Advisory Committee. And of course, remember that parent ambassador group that I supervise, they are an automatic member of the District Parent Advisory Committee. So they are at this meeting every quarter. One of the activities that we consider family engagement, and it is top down from the CEO all the way to the student, is parent-teacher conferences. It's one of the ways that we measure family engagement. The Cleveland Plan has a stipulation that about family engagement through parent-teacher conferences. We do a lot of work and support around this for our families to ensure that they have an opportunity to come to these parent-teacher conferences. We have toolkits, we do PowerPoints, and that's the family engagement department. We create a PowerPoint for each one of our schools to present at open house about parent-teacher conferences. And when they're doing parent-teacher conferences, where it's like a template and all they have to do is put in the information that is specific to their school. Because one of the things we do is try to make it as simple as possible for our schools to implement effective family engagement. We've also implemented or developed what we call an academic playbook, and this is for our parents, so that when they come to the parent-teacher conferences, they have a good idea of what the questions they should ask. There's note-taking in there as the things that they should expect for each grade level. So there's a lot of support around there. Now, with the parent-teacher conferences, because it's something that's highly looked at, we have negotiated with our union that teachers will input into the Power School system when families attend parent-teacher conferences. And the teachers are the only ones that can do this because it's an integral activity, right? So when we put that information in to our Power School system, it creates this data visual for us. And it lets us know the parents who have come, those who are not. Now, the principals have a different view of this where they can literally click on this and tell exactly what parents were not at a parent-teacher conference and what parents were. We keep a record of this because it helps us to gauge and monitor the parents' attendance at our conferences. The CEO actually looks at this and he wants to know, what is our parent-teacher conference rate? Now, and it tells it by school. And remember, I said how we're broken down into networks. You can do it by network and you can do it by individual school. But this is how we are able to support our schools in understanding or developing strategies to get our parents in. Now, this is one activity that is normally well attended as well. This is as of May 1st. This is what our dashboard looks like as of May 1st. Normally, we have an influx by the end of May, which is the end of the school year, and our goal is 94%. And before COVID, we would hit 94% each time. It wasn't a problem at all. After COVID, it kind of took a minute to get back up there, but we're slowly climbing. We're slowly climbing. Another thing is that we changed data systems. So there was grace given to teachers to learn how to input the information in, but we're still putting that information in, and it is climbing. The percentages is climbing. Our FACE coordinators report this information to our schools quarterly. We do not want to wait till the end of the year to let them know where they are with the parent-teacher conference input. So we have a method by which we report their information to them quarterly so that they can work on them. And I'm going to show you how we do that as well.
Carla,
Yes.
can I interrupt, please? We do have a question.
Yes.
And it is, Carla, is your neighborhood walkable? Sidewalks? Do families live close to schools?
Yes. Great question. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. Yes, the neighborhoods are walkable, and Cleveland has what we call school choice. We have neighborhood schools, but we also have schools with specialized curriculums. So families are able to choose where they want their child to go. If they want them to go to their neighborhood school, that's their choice. If they want to go to a school that, say, one of the in the video, the fatherhood walk, that was actually that was our state-of-the-art that was the state-of-the-art school that we have for alternative careers. Because you saw the cars on there, they actually have a car shop in the school where children work in the car. So that's a school that's in a specific location. That's the only one we have. So if families have children who are interested in those type of career shop, then they have to provide the transportation, but they can go there. But if they chose to go to a school in their neighborhood, they have that as well. So yes.
And our next question is, are teacher parent conferences done once a year or each quarter?
Thank you for that one too. We do parent teacher conferences 3 times a year. 3 times a year, we hold parent teacher conferences, the opportunity for parents to come in. Yes. We do it more than once because we realize that everybody has different schedules, and then we hold our elementary or our K-8 parent teacher conference on a different day from our high schools to accommodate families who have children in both and they can get to both. But each are done 3 times a year. Okay. So I want to show you this. This is our academic achievement plan. And I know that every district usually has some type of goal process for each school. One of the things that we were able to negotiate with our CAO, Chief Academic Officer, is a space on our academic achievement plan that's specifically for family engagement. We have, of course, math, we have the literacy, we have PBIS, which are tabs on there, but we were able to negotiate through a relationship with our executive director and the CAO. And this is going down, sitting in the office and talking and explaining the importance of family engagement as a strategy to academic achievement, as a strategy. It's not the goal. And sometimes we think that family engagement is a goal. No, it's a strategy to support the goals that we have academically. So we have a tab in the academic achievement plan where we have, they are to think about this each year. And it's a very extensive process where schools present to their network leader. They vote on it as a union. whether or not to accept the goals and strategies that they come up with for each one of those tabs, but they come up with a strategy for how do schools engage with families and how they expect families to engage with schools. Two different strategies. And one of the things that was added was they need to come up with a root cause analysis. Like, why do they think family engagement is low? And it's very helpful. And it is a very, very interesting process to read these and see how the schools perceive family engagement at their schools. And we do participate in the process of scoring these based upon a rubric to see if it is a good strategy and how we support. Now, once they create those strategies, those 4 coordinators that I have, they are required to complete what we call a partners AAP planning tool. And this is specifically to say, how are we going to support you in achieving that goal that you came up with regards to family engagement? How are we going to support you as a family engagement staff department? And we do this, and you'll see as I go through this that there's a lot of documentation and written plans with regards, because family engagement, what I have found that family engagement is something that family engagement practitioners think about all day long. It's not what the schools and staff and educators think about all day long. So we have to help create these strategies and these parameters and this guidance that is clear and that is concise. We may have to repeat it in multiple ways, in different ways, but we want to be clear so that staff does not look at family engagement as another thing to do. Because once they enter into that space, it's an uphill battle. So we want them not only to understand that this is not another thing to do, but it can be integrated in what you already do. But we also want you to know we are here to support you, and we are concerned about your success and the student success, just like anyone else. So we do this. We will actually put down what the goal is, what the strategy is, and then I have the coordinators put in bullet points specifically what they will do to help the school. And this document goes to the principal and the school staff so that they're able to know that they have support with obtaining those AAP strategies and goals that they have for family engagement. So I just want you to think quickly, because I'm looking at time and usually it does go fastly. What is your school district or organization planning structure for family engagement? How do you, I just want you to think, I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. And I want you to kind of write this down because it's going to make a difference in us moving forward. What is your school district or organization planning structure for family engagement? Is there any specific strategies? Is there a top-down approach where senior leadership is bought in? Are there any partnerships that have been created that help with not just creating strategies, but creating structures where family engagement is embedded into how you do your work? So I'll just give you a minute to think about that. Is it a department by itself? Do you have access to higher level staff members, educators, who can structure systems and move things like people, time, and money? Or are you operating by yourself? So one of the things that we do as well is those coordinators, one of the things that they're required to do at the beginning of the year is each one of the schools that they're assigned, they go into the schools and they develop what we call a family engagement committee. They search out the champions within the school that are willing to sit on a committee to develop family engagement strategies and activities. That's the reason why they meet. And they may meet once a quarter to plan these activities and talk about what their particular community needs. And that parent ambassador sits on this committee as well. They help develop two-way communications strategies at each one of our schools. They plan those activities. They ensure that input is in the planning and decision-making. They work with community partners. They create volunteer opportunities, and they offer professional learning and program to build the capacity of our educators and the families. So there's a committee, because you can imagine with 96 schools and 4 coordinators, there's no way that the 4 coordinators are able to do this for every school. They have to recruit a committee from each school. And currently, there hasn't been a concern, not even at our high schools. And there are some schools that the principals choose to be on the committee. I don't recommend the principals to be on the committee because I think they have a heavy lift as they already have. They can appoint their assistant principal, or we have deans, campus coordinators, and other staff that are in the school that can be on the committee. But we do have and put in or develop a family engagement committee. We offer support to our schools. Remember, I talked about that, making sure that we are seen as a viable support, not just someone that comes in and says, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do that. No, we are here to help and support you. So we have, like when they had a committee, when they have the committee meeting, we provide them with a template. We provide them with a plan. It's a parent advisory plan. We want them to do debriefs of their activities, because the last thing we want you to do is the same thing over and over again and it's not yielding you any results. So we want you to look at what you've done and see if there are any tweaks that you need to make, or not just tweaks that you need to make, but what was a good strategy that yielded great results that you need to make sure is in everything you do. Figure that out. There's tiered support, meaning that there are some schools that get this, you guys. When we work with them, they get it and they don't need as much support, but the coordinators have to tier them to determine who needs what type of support. And then we offer them with this toolkit, and you'll see the toolkit on the right, which is in our OneDrive, which is accessible to all of our staff. And in there, it has approved vendors if you want to do purchase some materials, which we've already put into our financial system where they don't have to figure that out. They're already in there. And we have websites where they can look at different resources that they offer. We give them the budget information because each schools get a Title I allocation, and Title I has restrictions. And we don't want to waste our schools' time with having them try to figure out, what can we spend this money on? Well, in this budget folder, we give them allowable and unallowable costs. We give them who they can buy resources from. We give them outlines. We give them specific activities that are Title I approved. You can see also here the parent-teacher conference information, parent meeting information, and then we have specific templates that we have created for the schools where for what they need, they can go right into this FACE folder, this this FACE toolkit and access what they need. Now, this is an important part that I want to emphasize to you guys as well, because this is an extremely important part that I realized once I came into Cleveland, that we were throwing around the name family engagement pretty loosely. And everybody did not seem to be on the same page as to what family engagement was. And not only what it was, but what did it look like? I mean, if we walked into a school, how could we tell if this school was implementing effective family engagement strategies? So one of the first things I did was develop this tier structure, which allowed not only my FACE coordinators, but the schools to understand what does family engagement look like? Now, this is just what I had structured. Yours could look very different. Either way, my encouragement to you is to develop it. What are you looking for? How are you determining whether or not your school is implementing effective family engagement strategies? So that it's kind of like, write the vision down and make it plain so that people will be able to see it and be very clear about what their expectations are. I know for me, that's very helpful to me. So you'll see that there are 3 tiers here. There's a tier 1, which we call accomplished, and we call that a highly functioning level of development and implementation of family engagement. Then we have a tier 2, which is skilled, and a tier 3, which we call developing. And that's as far as it goes. Nobody's failing. We know we're an education system, and educators do not like to think that they are failing. So we call them developing if they're below. But you can see, just as under the accomplishment, maybe the first bullet says, has a family engagement platform each quarter, meaning that they're having a family meeting every quarter. Every quarter, they're having a family meeting. We consider that as a good, highly functioning level of development. Now, I do tell you that if they have a parent ambassador, I do require that they have monthly meetings, because that's what the parent ambassador is there for, is to specifically give attention to family engagement. And you can see when you go down to the 4th bullet, you say has greater than 90% attendance at parent-teacher conferences. Now, if you're a school and you don't have that, we can't call you accomplished. So we spell it out very clearly. What does it mean to be accomplished with family engagement? And I'll tell you why this is important.
Carla,
Because
we do have a couple questions whenever you're ready for them.
Okay, go ahead.
So this one here is, it's all over. Different departments do their own events. We have a dedicated department, but it's not properly structured. And we also have another statement. We have a strong administrative team who believes in family engagement work. Our understanding of the engagement needs more development, but we see the priority. And another one is, are some of those templates shareable to customize to our district?
Absolutely. Yes. I do believe you will have access to the PowerPoint. And I will also make sure that I get to Natalie some of the templates that you can use in the Word format, because I'm all about sharing. My intent is to move the needle on family engagement across the entire nation, not just in Cleveland. But my suggestion would be for those who are working in different places and spaces is to develop another level of family engagement where at least one person from each one of those communities come together and talk about family engagement. They share with each other strategies, things that work, things that didn't work, maybe resources, tools, or different things. Or you may even find out that there's things that you can collaborate on or work together on. So my suggestion for those who are siloed is just simply, and I say simply, and I do understand that it may not be as simple as I'm expressing, but develop another level. And I know some people say, well, I don't need another meeting. Well, if you have people who are working on the same thing in different places, and you may experience overlap, duplication of services, that's a waste of time. So you can make that time a little bit better by developing another level of people, from each community, that can come together at least quarterly to sit down and talk about, what are you doing? What are you doing? How did that work? Or do you have a new resource? How can I support you? Can we do that? Is that something that we'll be able to implement? And we make each other better. I hope that answered your question. This is a template that I will share as well. This is what we call an action plan, and this is what we require each school to fill out to access Title I funds. And what this does, it helps us when we are receiving Title I audits to ensure that all of the requirements are met around the utilization of Title I funds. Okay. Each school has to fill this out and complete it. One of the things you'll see where it says team members, because we want to make sure that this is a team and it's not someone sitting in a corner by themselves developing activities for families, but there's a team that is developing these activities and events. And more specifically, that there's a parent on that team. Parents should have input. Okay. We have here the areas that this action plan should align with. That keeps us from having people do things that are not unallowable. So we have it here, exactly what you can do. Instructional core, that's the math and literacy, social emotional learning, building the family capacity, college and career readiness, allowable, attendance, allowable. Then we ask you, what's the tier? Is it for everybody? Is it for some, or is it a specific few? That helps us in our planning as an engagement department and how to move our schools into a more strategic place in planning. The right half of the plan, you will see it asks the school or that family engagement committee, give us a description of the activity. We want to know what you're doing. And then specifically, that second question is, what are families going to learn? This allows them to think about this activity, not just doing it because we need to spend money or we need to have something or we need to bring families in here, but we want to be specific about and intentional about bringing our families in and ensuring that they're equipped to be a partner in this partnership. Okay. And then we also ask about the forms of communication, because the last thing we want to happen is for you to alert families that there's a meeting tomorrow. That's very disrespectful of their time. And we do not want that to happen as well. So we ask, how are you communicating this? And then you'll notice at the bottom, there are 3 signatures. One signature is the principal's, because it's happening in their building. They need to know and agree to this plan. Then there's a signature for a parent. A parent has to look at this signature, look at this plan and agree to it and say, I'm okay with this plan. And then the very last signature is our FACE coordinator, who has looked at it and ensured that we are following all of the Title I guidelines. And in order to access the funds, this plan must be uploaded into our financial system to create a purchase order or requisition. If our finance department gets a request for Title I funds from a school and do not see this plan, they will reject it. It's just that simple. They will reject it. We need to see the plan to show the intentionality in planning and the adherence to our Title I funds. And it is mainly this plan that has kept us in a fully compliant status with the federal government when it comes to Title I for probably 14 years. So this helps a lot. And this is something I definitely will share with Natalie to ensure that you're able to create some type of system with regards to ensuring that the Title I funds are adhered to or are used in the way that they should be used. This is the rubric that we give the schools. Remember I showed you that tier structure? Well, this is a rubric that's given to the schools to help them put it in a way that's manageable. Okay, you can see that it's broken down by quarters, and it shows the schools exactly what we're looking for. Exactly what we're looking for. For first quarter, we're looking for documentation for back to school meet and greet, that open house, that you've established a compact and a policy, that your parent portal and your school website is up to date, and that you have a 2-way communication strategy, along with establishing a family engagement committee. Now, why is that important for the first quarter? Because that's all the foundational tools that you'll need to ensure that you at least have a good foundation to build off of family engagement for the rest of the school year. Coordinators are committed to the schools to ensuring those things are established within the first quarter. It allows the schools to not have to be all over the place. We're actually providing them with a structure and guidance on how to have effective family engagement. You can see there are things that they need to look at as far they need to accomplish regards to second quarter, third quarter, and then fourth quarter. And this is one of the major activities that the FACE coordinators support the schools on. And you can see at the bottom, there's a level determination. Remember, I had those accomplished, skilled, and developing. They are monitored to show that. Were they put into our, and this here is a smart sheet. This is a smart sheet where the FACE coordinators put in for each school what they have accomplished. If they've accomplished all 6 of those components on that rubric, they put them in, the grade is accomplished. If they've only accomplished 5, they put them in, the grade is skilled. If they've only accomplished 3 or anything below 5, it's called developing, and it comes out in a grade. They also put those in, and this is a form in Teams with our Power BI system. Teams, a form that simply we take the sign-in sheets from the activities, from that open house, back to school, meet and greet, family activities, parent meetings, and we input this information into a form on Teams. And when it aligns with the Power BI system, it gives us a data visual that looks like this. And this is accessible to all staff. So they can look at it and see where their family engagement is in a data perspective. It helps us look and see where we are, what's happening. You can see over in this screen here, it shows us the tiers where 59% is universal, 29 is, hold up, 29% I have. Okay, 29% is not, so it helps us to say, well, we want to move this. We don't want so many activities to be universal. We want to be more effective. So we want to move that. This also, dashboard is also done by network so that each network leader can see, along with the days of the week that they attend. Now, this is information that just comes off of a sign-in sheet that gives a data visual. And Natalie, I want you to tell me, I see that I'm probably at time. Tell me where I am with time, Natalie.
Yes, you have maybe a few more minutes if you want to wrap up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So I showed you the data dashboard, the FACE data dashboard. Now, do we think, or do I think that everybody's looking at that dashboard? Absolutely not. So I have the coordinators do a data report where the coordinators look at the data dashboard and they summarize the data for the schools and send them a 1-page report that simply tells them what's on there, along with, at the bottom, you'll see there's a place for opportunities and recommendations. Real short, sweet conversation like we're having. This is what I recommend you do for the next quarter to move or improve your family engagement. There's a place where they put their budget overview. This is how much money you've spent. This is how much you have left. It tells them where they were on the rubric, and they send this out to their principals and their family engagement team. I explained to you about the parent ambassadors. We were blessed to be able to start this program after COVID with the ESSER funds. They are paid 15 to 25 hours per week at the school for $15 an hour. And they must be a parent at the school. They must have a child at the school in which they work. Gives us a head start on relationship building. And from those parent ambassadors, this is a strategy, and I'm wrapping up with this one, is that family engagement, what I have found is that family engagement is organic once you start to include the families. Once you sit down and create an opportunity for them to talk to you, they will tell you what they need. And as I've had conversations with these parent ambassadors, because I provide professional development for parent ambassadors monthly, I provide them with monthly. These are the things that has These are the activities or strategies that have come out of those conversations, just simply having a conversation. One of them is a high school subcommittee, where we work specifically to develop strategies for high schools, because I found out from those parent ambassadors about 4 years ago, they kept telling me, Miss Carla, family engagement is different at the high school. That stuff you talking about ain't working for high schools. It's okay for K-8s. So we developed a high school subcommittee, and the result of it is that academic playbook that I showed you, we've developed a high school academic playbook that is specifically speaks to the parents and caregivers of children, of families who have children at high school. We have a special needs subcommittee. Found out from sitting down talking to the parent ambassadors that we're not doing as well as we could with our children who have special needs. So we've developed an annual, and this year we'll be doing our 3rd annual special needs fair, where we provide vendors, resources from the community, a time for the families who have children who have learning differences, come out and have fun. Bouncy houses, face painting, balloons, workshops. They find out what to expect, how to participate in that whole special education process. We've revamped our parent university. And we also have a collaboration with our local community college called a Women in Transition program that supports the personal development of our parent ambassadors because they asked for it. This is just some pictures from our special education fair where they're having fun. We partnered last year with our car show. We have an annual car show, and the families have a ball. And they tell us that they thank us, some crying, because they like, no one took the time to tell us and explain to us this whole education process. So I think I made it to the end, which is something that normally doesn't happen. But I'm glad I was able to do it today. And again, I say to you, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today. My hopes is that you were able to get something out of this that would help you. And again, I will make sure that Natalie gets some of the templates that I mentioned, so that you'll be able to utilize, not from just scratch, but you can have a starting point to move the needle on family engagement at your program and activity. Thank you again so much. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you. I know I got something out of it, even though, again, we've been doing family engagement at InSource since October 2023, but we're still gaining knowledge. We're still sharing with everybody. You know, a couple of things that stood out to me. I'm not actually an educator in the school district, but stand out. Family engagement, if it's not embedded from the top down and supported, you kind of get at a stumbling block. What do I do from here? So hopefully everybody, all the educators on this call, understand that we need family engagement from the top down, and you can't do it alone. You need that support. You need to have that community partnership, you know, and you really need to have the core values in your district to embed family engagement. So thank you again, Carla.
Natalie, we have a question.
Go ahead.
It says, so informative and helpful. Can we also have access to your K-8 high school playbook?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will send that link. It's actually on our website, but I'll send you that as well, Natalie. What I'll do is put together maybe just a couple of slides that I'll send to you that has the templates and links to everything that you need. But definitely, absolutely.
And that'd be great. And at the end, I'll make sure everybody has my contact information to get in touch with Carla or any of the model sites that we'll be presenting today. So feel free. And now we are turning it over to Warren Township. And I'm going to put their slide deck in the chat as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tabitha Jackson, and I am representing MSD Warren Township. And with me is Ms. Laura Buckright. She is our Director of College and Career Readiness, and she is my partner in crime on this family engagement journey. We have learned so much over the past 2 years of doing this journey with InSource, and just excited to share some of the things that we have been working on and advancing in our family engagement journey. So I'm going to pull up my slide deck. One moment, please. All right. So today, to go after Carla is quite intimidating. She is just such a gem. So I hope that you find this session just as informative. Our title of our presentation today is Connected Conversations, Building Stronger Families Through Positive Communication. Positive communication has been a big focus for us during the 24-25 school year. I think it's really a foundational piece, making sure that we're communicating with families positively, making sure that they understand the communication that's coming from school. So we've done a lot of development and learning around positive communication this school year. So I'm excited to share some of that with you. So the objectives for today: who is Warren? How we've improved communication within our district over the past year. And we'll also explore how positive communication creates bridges between schools and families. So, like I said, we're Warren Township, and we are a multicultural, colorful district on the far east side of Indianapolis. We are about 12,000 students. We have a preschool all the way up through adult education center here. And we also have an online academy as well. So we have 1 preschool, 9 elementary schools, 3 intermediate middle schools. So for us, that's grades 5, 6, 7, 8, all under one building. 1 high school, 1 career center, and 1 alternative high school. And again, we do have that online academy as well. Our district, like I said, we are very diverse, mostly Black and Brown students and families, but we have 45 languages that are spoken by our families in MSD Warren Township. And one of those languages that we're really, that's really blossoming in our township is Haitian Creole. So communicating with those families and really building those bridges to those families has been a priority this year. We also have 1 liaison in each of our 16 schools, and we are just so lucky to be able to have 1 family engagement liaison in every building. So for us, the power of family engagement liaisons, you can see our beautiful crew over there in that picture, but they're building bridges, they're setting goals, doing professional development, professional growth, and really capacity building. So our liaisons are really that bridge between schools and families through very specific targeted outreach. Each liaison works with their building principal, assistant principal, counselor, just their school team to really develop and create measurable, specific goals that serve the needs of their particular school. Professional growth has been a key component of our learning this year for our family engagement team. You'll hear about one of our journeys with Patricia Weinzappel this year that really helped us dive into communication, family engagement communication to be specific. Also webinars and attending national conferences, local conferences, really to get those best practices and making sure that they work for Warren Township. Our liaisons are really responsible for training teachers and staff on those best practices. So once they get them, taking those best practices back to their building, to make sure that their staff has the capacity and the confidence to engage with families. This is just a brief overview of our journey in family engagement. And our journey in family engagement was born out of right after COVID. Our superintendent really believed that family engagement liaisons were going to be a critical component to coming out of COVID and really supporting families. But what did that mean? We weren't really sure. So over the past 4 years, we've really figured out what that means, how to support families and staff, and really understanding family engagement at its core. And obviously, we are learning new things every day to support our liaisons and our families. So 2021, we hired family engagement liaisons, one for each building. And a lot of those family engagement liaisons are parents themselves, which really makes them relatable to our families because they're going through it as well. In 2022, we expanded to the 16 family engagement liaisons across all the buildings. 2023, we secured the EFFECT grant to enhance our programming and really just enhance our resources and our learning. In 2024, I was hired and introduced as the district lead liaison to coordinate our district family engagement efforts. And in 2025, really focusing on family engagement communication strategies so that we're really communicating with our families effectively. Our investment in excellence, like I've said, it's really about professional learning, attending those local and national training opportunities, keeping our team aware of those best practices, learning new things. Resource development, we are really making sure that we're developing resources for not only our staff, but also our families. Carla kind of touched on parent-teacher conferences. So that was a resource that we developed for our families this year. Just a sheet of paper that they can, with questions. What kind of questions do I ask going into a parent-teacher conference so that I can get the most out of my time with my child's teacher? Leadership growth, really developing our liaisons through that professional learning so that they can take it back to their building and really training up their staff so that the staff is also confident and capable. This might look familiar, the dual capacity framework. It is the foundation and the framework that guides our approach to family engagement. It recognizes that both schools and families need support to form those effective partnerships. So we have taken this to our school board and they are going to adopt this as our framework. But as you can see, and as you heard from Carla, this is the approach. This is showing that you've got to have families, staff, school staff, all working together to make sure that that student thrives. So building the skills and knowledge, enhancing parents' ability to support learning at home, improving those educational outcomes, and being collaborative. So ensuring the program sustainability, that's really a key focus for Warren. We started our family engagement journey before we had the EFFECT grant. But for us, it's really important that we are making a sustainable program. So what does that mean? When the money goes away, making sure that our family engagement efforts are still there and live longer than the money. So continuously improving and refining our practices, and really looking at data to make sure that we are responding to the data and using our data to tell a story of how family engagement is growing in Warren Township. Again, I've kind of hit on it a couple times, but capacity building, it's so important. Expanding the knowledge across all staff. So when you think of staff, it's not just classroom teachers, bus drivers. They are the first people to see our students, making sure that they're aware of family engagement and understanding how to communicate with families effectively. Custodian staff, cafeteria, instructional assistants, special education, support staff, everybody plays a role in making sure that family engagement is happening. And then systemic integration, embedding engagement in school operations. This has been huge for us this year. And Laura, if you want to chime in on this about how our superintendent has built our strategic plan and has included family and community engagement so that it's starting at the top and working its way down.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that, Tabitha. Yeah, really, the whole idea of family engagement liaisons came from our superintendent. As Tabitha said, coming out of COVID and recognizing we need to get our families back in our building and communicating with educators and that partnership. So he saw that need and addressed it. And he really was adamant about these positions serving the individual needs of each school. So that first year, we really spent a lot of time defining what this role meant because we hadn't had this role before in the district. And he also knew that, as Tabitha mentioned, we have quite a diverse community, socioeconomically as well as culturally. And so the needs from our building vary from one building to the next, from one part of the district to the other. And he really wanted the building principals to drive the needs for their specific building. He didn't want it to be every liaison is going to do this. And so part of Tabitha's leadership has really been about helping the liaisons come together and support each other, and also recognizing that their roles may look different from building to building. And as Carla, you mentioned, the high school looks different. I wish I had $1 for every time I heard that, because I probably could have retired last year. So we've learned so much in those first few years of what this role can be, and really the investment in our people, and almost all of our liaisons live in the community, are part of the community, have grown up here, have children here. But we also have quite a extensive educational background among our liaisons, right? Some have been in education, some have been in the private sector. Some, it's a variety of backgrounds and experience. And so that's where it's been real key with the district support and this grant support to be able to provide that professional development to build that capacity of all of our liaisons and meet those needs. So we're very grateful and very fortunate, and we recognize that we're unique and blessed to be able to have that investment. Tabitha and I are not spending time trying to convince administration that this is important. We get to spend our time advocating for how we can increase engagement and how we can use our liaisons effectively. So we're just very grateful for that. So you're right, Carla, it's got to come from the top and the bottom, right? And I think we've combined both. We've gotten the support from administration, but we've grown our program through the liaisons talking about what they need and how they need to do their roles in their particular school and in their community.
And then that leads us to the resource allocation. And that is, we are using our family engagement grant money on professional development, materials for being out in the community, and just making sure that we are constantly growing and learning and evolving. So into the communication part, this has been such a wonderful book, and we did we spent so much time with Patricia Weinzapfel this year, and it really was centered around her book, Closing the Loop. So shout out to Patricia. She's Indiana based. She's really wonderful. And I'm just going to highlight a few things of what we've learned from her, but I do recommend her book, Closing the Loop. You can find it on Amazon. But this year, our family engagement team completed family engagement communication training with Patricia this school year. So we had 3 different sessions with her throughout the year, and each session focused on one particular piece of communication best practices. So from that, some of the things that we've learned that we are making better when communicating with families, making sure that initial contact comes from the schools. It is not a family's responsibility to engage with the school. Like Carla said, that responsibility lays on school staff. So making sure that schools reach out with that clear information, clear questioning, and making sure that we are initiating that engagement. Really listening to family responses, making sure that our families are heard, their thoughts, concerns, getting that feedback from them. School follow-up is so important. You can absolutely reach out to a family and then, okay, we're going to get that done. But really following up with the families, that is so critical. Making sure that families know that they were heard, what actions were taken, what was improved, what was changed. The follow-up has not always happened. So being more intentional with following up with our families is critical. And that, again, the resolution, what happened? How are we sharing that with our families? The communication challenge, some tips that we learned from Patricia: accessible language, using a 4th to 6th grade reading level. That was kind of shocking to me that it was a 4th to 6th grade reading level. What that means is when our newsletters go out, permission slips, any type of family communication that goes out, it should be at a 4th to 6th grade reading level. Avoiding jargon, PBIS, ACR, IEP. Nope, we're not going to use the acronyms. When we are communicating with families, it needs to be spelled out. They really do not understand the educational acronyms like we do as a staff. So really eliminating that from your family communications that are going out. Making sure that things are framed in a positive light. So often, staff is very good at, well, this is the problem. But really, I think most of us have heard we sandwich things. So you give a good, put the bad, and end with the good. So making sure that things are positive when we are communicating with families, sharing the good. And that goes back to our positive communication. Two-way dialogue. How are our families able to connect with us? Where is that two-way communication? So for us, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. We use Parent Square. Parent Square is a really great communication app that we use that allows two-way communication. But also we have a regional stakeholder group meeting. So that is where we can hear from families and staff on what's going well, listen to them, and really have that back and forth. So as I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, we have 45 languages here in Warren Township. And I don't speak 45 languages. So we needed some help with connecting with all families. All families need to be heard. And what we did this year, we purchased pocket talkers for every liaison and all of our front office staff. Pocket talker, one moment, it looks like this, and it just is a little device, and there are hundreds of languages and dialects within this, and it might not be the best way, but it works. So I can just click it on, and I can speak into it, and it'll translate, or excuse me, it'll interpret the message and speak it back to the parent. So like I said, our Haitian Creole population is booming right now. So I have a Haitian Creole family that comes in, and I can pull out the pocket talker and I can chat with them back and forth. And at least we are trying to meet the needs of that family. It may not be perfect, but it's working and we're trying. So that's a great little resource that we have purchased this year that is really helping meet the needs of our families. Again, also providing printed materials in multiple languages so that all families receive information in their home language. Super important. Making sure that families feel valued and seen. So one simple tip, making sure that everything goes out. For us, it's English, Spanish, Haitian Creole. Those are our top 3 languages. So for us, everything is going to go out in English, Spanish, Haitian Creole. And Parent Square, I'm going to highlight Parent Square again. Parent Square is a communication app on your phone, and our school newsletters go there. Parents are able to message back and forth between staff, school staff. And what's really great with Parent Square is I can type in English, but it's going to be interpreted and translated into that family's home language. So no matter what I type in, they are going to see it in French. They are going to see it in Spanish. So again, really trying to meet the needs of our families and meet our families where they are so that all families have the information they need to do school. Body language matters. Not only are we communicating with families through printed materials, but also our body language. And that was a big seminar or session with Patricia, all about body language. And a lot of times I hear our liaison saying, this is such a customer service-based role. And it really is. We're customer service for the school, really. So when we are interacting with families, again, making sure that our arms aren't crossed, kind of closed off. I don't care what you have to say right now. Being aware of how you're perceived and how your body language is coming across to families. Active listening, leaning in, nodding, maintaining that eye contact with families. I'm listening, I hear you. Body language is huge. And I didn't know about this. The equal positioning, sitting at the same level, really equalizes people. So I thought that was a great little tip there. And then when your families are coming into your space, are you sitting behind a desk and having a conversation with them? Or are you sitting side by side in the chair and really on an equal playing field? Because that desk in between you, there's a barrier. It's a physical barrier. And it just is not approachable. It's not friendly. It's not welcoming. So for us, it might seem silly, but body language and making sure that our liaisons were aware of how they are portraying communication through their body, making sure that they are aware of that. So I have a quick little poll from you. If you could scan the QR code in the top right-hand corner. And have you ever received positive communication about your child, grandchild from their school? Just a quick poll, yes or no? All right, so we've got some coming in. It looks like a majority of us have received some type of positive communication from their school. That makes me so happy. Go ahead, keep your phone out. I'm going to go to the next one. Again, scan that QR code. How did that positive communication make you feel? And this is just a word bubble, so we'll just see what comes through. Included. Oh, I love that one. Proud, happy. Wait for a couple more to come in. Worthy. I love it. So while more of those are coming in, I'm just going to share a quick story. Like I said, most of our parent engagement, family engagement liaisons are parents themselves. I'm a parent myself here in Warren Township. I have a 6th grade daughter, and she goes to Creston Intermediate Middle School. I had never gotten a positive phone call, anything from my child about my kid. And in September, October, right around there, her band teacher reached out and said, oh, you know, Naomi is so great to have in class. And he went on. And I was like, I love it. It made me feel so good because I know how awesome my kid is. But hearing it from her educators really made me feel seen, proud, and her known at her school. So I love that worthy, good, cared, encouraging, supportive, happy, heard, proud, included. I love it. It's all great. So out of that, we started the Sharing Our Joy, the postcard initiative. So each family engagement liaison got a stack of Share Your Joy postcards. And you can see right here, it just says, Share Our Joy. And then it's just blank on the back. We had this printed at our local, our Warren Township print shop. And family engagement liaisons set up a station at their school, a little table where staff could come by, any staff, write a positive note about a student and have it mailed home. We have sent out over 1,500 postcards as of today. And I am just so proud of this initiative because our staff is communicating with families. It might be small, but it's a huge drop in the bucket for some families. So you can just see a few examples of those beautiful postcards that have gone out to our families.
Tabitha, can I add something real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of looping back to, you know, continuing with that administrative support. As Tabitha mentioned, we went through our strategic planning in the past couple of years, and family engagement and relationships with our families and community partners was one of our pillars of our strategic plan. And so again, that support is important. But one of the things that Tabitha and I have also tried very hard to keep in front of our liaisons and publicly is making sure that we link what we're doing back to our strategic plan. So it's hard to see in the example and from what Tabitha showed, but on the back of our postcards, we have our journey of a graduate, which is what we call portrait of a graduate, which I know many schools are utilizing and identifying those key skills we want all of our graduates to graduate with. And then our district vision statement is included on there. So just another way that we want to make sure that we're consistently supporting and aligning our work with the vision and mission of the school district. So just wanted to put that little piece in there too.
So out of all of that, our 16 building engagement liaisons are ready and capable to support our families, all families across the district. We have 100% school participation. All buildings are committed to enhancing family engagement. It's a journey, right? When I finished this, we had 1,300 families reached through positive communication initiatives. And together we can build stronger connections between schools and families. When we communicate positively, everyone benefits. And I just want to end with this. Family engagement is a journey, not a destination. And oh, one more slide. And so looking ahead, we do have, what are we looking for? What's next for us? For us, we are looking to create a family engagement handbook for every school. Just a tool that families can have and receive what is in there, PTA information, how to get involved, and making sure that our families have the knowledge and the capacity to support their student and their students' learning.
Thank you, Tabitha. Everything here was great. I understand you guys had your building liaisons prior to the effect grant, but you guys are really using the power of those liaisons, building your capacity, like you said, not just the teachers, but the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, everybody that interact with the school has the capacity to build their family engagement with the families, and not only just building, but sustaining it. So great job you're doing. Now we have Perry Central, and again, I will be dropping the link to their presentation in the chat as well.
Okay, so my name is Brittany Carter, and I am the Family Engagement Coordinator for Perry Central Community Schools. So we are a very rural community, and we have about 1,250 students. And so that's preschool through 12th grades, and we are actually all under one rep. So it makes us pretty unique, I think. So today I'm going to talk about, Carla talked earlier about the low impact activities. And so I'm going to kind of talk about how we are moving from more intentional low impact and shifting our way towards the more high impact activities. This is our team. I say that our family engagement leadership team. So we have Tara Bishop, our superintendent, who is on here today, and Jennifer Mitchell, our elementary principal, Jody French, our high school principal, Lacey Linton and Jamie Gilliam, they are our elementary assistant principals. Phil Zellers is the junior high principal, and then myself, and then we also have Joyce Forey, who is our family outreach coordinator. So she's been doing this work for quite some time. And then we have Sarah Wright, who is our Lincoln Hills development resource manager. So she works more with Lincoln Hills and connecting families with their resources and applying and kind of meeting them where they're at to ensure that they know what's available to them and helping them apply for those resources. And then Tara, our superintendent, is going to talk about this slide.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tara Bishop. I'm proud to serve as superintendent at Perry Central Schools. So we are pretty different. I mean, we're the rural model. So there's I guess, urban, suburban, and rural model in the grant, and we're the rural and proud to serve in that role. We've been trying to involve families. I'm sure we've made some mistakes along the way, but since the early 90s have had a family outreach coordinator in our district. Perry Central is, we like to say, in the middle of everywhere, but in reality, kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot of resources around us. So the school has become the community center. It's the only gathering place in the community. We have a prison and we have us. A couple churches and a tavern, no stoplights. And so it's just a different setup. And we've long recognized that the role of the school was going to have to go beyond traditional K-12 education to serve the needs of the community. And so because of that, we've just opened our doors to families and the wider community for a really, really long time. And I served under a different superintendent named Mary Robertson for 17 years. And she really, I think, is the person who took us to the next level in terms of our programming and serving our families and our community in a larger way, because she just really believed it. And she wrote grants to make it happen. So we were able to provide all kinds of programming and services that we'd never done before because we couldn't do it with our K-12 traditional funding. So we believe in it. I buy into it. We wrote this grant because we saw it as an opportunity to take what we were doing to the next level. So I'm going to tell on myself a little bit when I say this, and Dawn will probably laugh at me, but sometimes I'm like, I want families to be involved, but I was a little bit scared of them too. I'm going to be honest. And so this has all shifted my mindset. Like I said the right things. We want to involve families. You're all welcome here. But in my heart, like I was scared of what direction that could take us in and what would they say and can they really help? And we felt like we were filling so many of their roles that sometimes I was even felt a little bit resentful about that. So it's just this whole journey has been really good for me to change my thinking and my approach to family engagement and realizing the potential value that it truly has to bring families in a meaningful way to impact student achievement. So I feel like we've always had this programming but my understanding has really grown through this initiative. And I'm so appreciative of the professional learning that we've been able to participate in. And so we've really formed a really quality regional stakeholder group. It's been amazing, and we've gotten so much good feedback from those folks. And another piece that I have led for the district in the last 2 years is we started something called Commodore Ambassadors. So it's all parents, and it's in addition to the regional stakeholder group, but it's for a little bit different purpose. The idea of Commodore Ambassadors is to share with families a lot of different things about our programming so that when they are having conversations in the community with other people in their networks, they kind of understand some things that we're doing and why. And they also have an opportunity to provide us feedback throughout that process. And it has just been really cool. And the people who've participated have loved it. And I think it's also pushed this work forward. So happy to be here. Unfortunately, won't be able to stay on the call the whole time because I have to go to another meeting. But just really appreciate the work and the support of Dawn and her team and the other schools involved in this. We're learning from one another.
Okay, and then the regional stakeholder group was really our first big step with our family engagement work. So I began this position January of 2023. And then, so our regional stakeholder group, we put that together. That was really our main task in the beginning. And so we met for the first time last April. So we meet typically every other month is how often we meet. So our strategic planning, our 4 main goals with the grant, obviously the overall goal is student success, but our 4 areas that we're focusing on are communication, trust, attendance, and mental health. So with communication, just establishing and improving that 2-way communication for all families. Building that trust, Perry Central wants to inspire and motivate families to embrace positive change and strengthen their bonds for generations to come. Attendance, decrease chronic absenteeism by developing strong partnerships between home and schools. A big part of the attendance is it's kind of changing how we're approaching attendance from the punitive approach more to that relationship and trust-based approach. With mental health, working with families to identify and address mental health concerns to foster a supportive learning environment that enables all students access to education consistently. Below there, I'm not going to go through all those, but those are just some more specific goals. So I'm going to show our year 1 video now, and then I'm going to show our year 2 video towards the end, and then we'll kind of talk about those. You may be wondering what these pictures are about. So we've done a lot of work in our preschool program, which Jennifer will talk about here in just a little bit, but we also received another grant for preschool to birth. So kind of getting in contact with these families before they get to preschool. And so at a lot of our events, we tried to start putting these labels on the snacks or the water bottles or different things we hand out with different like research and statistics about just child development up until, I would say up until like age 5. So we've been trying to put that on different things. I am going to show our year 1 video.
Perry Central Community Schools is really proud to partner with InSource for this family engagement grant. It's actually a really natural part of what we have done for as long as Perry Central's been in existence. The school was built back in the early 1960s by families, by farming families that had been here all their lives, that came together and formed this community school out of a lot of really small one-room schoolhouses and a couple of really small high schools because they wanted something better for their children. So Perry Central Elementary definitely loves and feels a family approach every day of school and even during the summertime. We actually even call ourselves our school family. We're here to serve families, and so we want to do what's best for families, which is why we open our dome at 7 o'clock in the morning and have families drop off kids if they have to be at work before school starts. We run an after-school program that's free to families until 6 o'clock in the evening, and buses leaving at 5:30 to help those families. And so not only do we have our own family, but we extend that into the families of our students. And we want to make sure that we're serving families and doing what's best for them. The school is the hub of the community. We open it up to people for everything you can think of. We always kind of laugh and say, if something's going to be happening in the Perry Central community, it happens at Perry Central. And some of that's geography. We're the gathering place. We're really the only gathering place in the district's boundaries. But it's also our philosophy. We belong to the community. And so I think that has kind of helped people to tend to stay here. So we have families that generation after generation continue to live here and send their kids to school here. And family is actually what we really kind of take pride in being here. We talk about the Perry Central family a lot. And so it's just sort of a natural extension of who we are and what we do.
At Perry Central Junior Senior High School, our doors are always open to our families as we celebrate successes together, learn about college and career readiness together, and also to help support their families in times of need. One thing that is very special about Perry Central is that we're so community oriented and so family oriented. All of us are here together, and we believe in supporting the success of each and every student and their family.
Okay, Jennifer, do you want to talk about the preschool?
Yeah, sure can. So I'm Jennifer Mitchell. I am the principal at the elementary, and we serve pre-K through 6th grade. And so we recently were fortunate enough to get a school improvement grant, federal grant, and it was very nice and very large. So $3.3 million over 3 years. And so we have really, really worked hard to increase our improve and increase our preschool and just getting kids here. So Perry Central has had preschool, free preschool to, well, not completely free, very, very affordable preschool since I'm going to say 1990s-ish. I was not here at that time, so I don't know for sure, but we've had preschool before preschool was even a thing. And so we were finding out that we were limited on the number of kids that we could serve and that we really wanted to branch that out. We also wanted to go to 5-day-a-week preschool. And so we only had 2 days. We did 2 full days due to busing because busing is an issue. Transportation is an issue. If our parents are working, they can't come midday to pick up kids. And we would only have about, I'm going to say around 35 to 40 preschool seats open because we had to serve those kids with developmental delays, ages 3 and 4. And so we were pretty limited. And what we kind of wanted with this grant was to expand to 5-day preschool, so 5 full-day preschool. And so each year we have extended a classroom. So our first year we had 1 5-day-a-week preschool classroom. This year we had 2 5-day-a-week
classrooms. And then this next year, all 3 of our preschool classrooms will be 5 full days a week. We were able to secure funding with On My Way PK, which I think that they're going to cut, but we're going to stay positive and have good vibes so that they don't cut it too bad. But that's kind of our sustainability plan once our grant runs out. But we really felt that if we could get 90 to 100% of our students who are coming to us in kindergarten, if we could get them here preschool, that all of the things that you have to do in a kindergarten setting would hopefully be done in the preschool setting. So then you can really just go in and learn in kindergarten. And we were finding out that our kindergartners were coming in, and our assistant principal, Jamie Gilliam, says they just didn't even know how to play school. Like, they don't know how to line up. They don't know to come in from the recess when the whistle blows. Just a lot of things that people who have preschool experiences would kind of have that figured out before they came to kindergarten. And we all know that our kindergarten expectations are just very, very high. And so we have a really developmentally appropriate preschool programming. There's a lot of learning through play. In order to get the On My Way PK funding to start with, we had to be a Paths to Quality level 3. So we've done a lot of work with center-based learning, getting people licensed CDA or early childhood education, because those are some pretty high requirements. And so with us improving our preschool and really, what I want to say, bulking it up, we've had more people. We've done a lot of advertising and marketing for our preschoolers, and we will get about, the last 2 years, we've had about 75% of them come to us, and then they will go into our kindergarten. With that, we have done a developmental discovery night. And so we just actually had this last night. So we've kind of feel like we're living here this week. We had about 38 of our 52-ish new registrations, whether preschool or kindergarten, come out to school. And we have stations for social emotional. We have stations for early literacy, early numeracy. We have a station to turn in your paperwork. We have a station to do the On My Way PK application, so that it's right there and we have all the families together. And then we may kind of be coercing them to come to a orientation night where we have a representative from Conscious Discipline. Her name is Jenny Spencer, and she's amazing. She works with our early childhood centers all across the state of Indiana. And our families come and they learn about conscious discipline, because that's the approach that we use, the framework we use in our elementary school, and very much about identifying feelings, knowing your feelings, how to be a good friend, all those other things. And so with this grant, we've been able to give every family a portable Feeling Buddies little group. If you don't know Feeling Buddies, just Google it and you'll just, they're cute. And we've had great success in having our parents come back and say, hey, my kid's coming home and he's actually telling his dad, you are angry, you need to go get angry. And so they'll go over and get the angry. And then they have this little ritual of what they say to the Feeling Buddy, and then just acknowledging it. And so we've really been able to, in the preschool world, make connections with families before they even start at our school. We had, like I said, about 70-ish at the beginning of the school year, 70-ish preschoolers, and every single one of our families either made an appointment to meet with us in a small group or one-on-one, or they attended our orientation night. And so we really set it as, we just want to get to know you and we want you to know us. So we're really just trying to open those doors and communicate, and then let them feel welcome, and give them a tour. We had races in our gym last night, and it was just an amazing night. And so we're really honing in on that early group, because they're with us for 13 years. And so we want to start strong and let parents know that we're in this together. And then our donut, can I talk about donuts with grownups, or were you going to talk about that, Brittany?
Go ahead.
Okay, so our preschool advocacy group, which were all preschool parents, actually came up with this idea. And so the picture to the far right there, you can see a circle of the parents behind, and then the kids in front of those parents. And I say parents, some were grandparents because parents are working. So we just said any grown-up can come. And in our family meeting in grades pre-K through 6th grade, we had this little energy stick. And so if you've never seen an energy stick before, if I hold both ends of it, it will light up. If I let go, the light doesn't work. And so they, as a class, used that energy stick and they held hands and then they connected at the very end and that energy stick lit up. And so we had them do that with the grownups behind them, and the kids all gathered around and they held the energy stick and it lit up. And then the kids looked at the grown-up and they said, "Will you join us?" And then all the grownups came together and we had this huge circle and we said, "Now you guys are all in this together. You're together for 13 years and you're kind of your own little family. You're going to see these people for the next 13 years together." And then we all connected hands if they felt comfortable. It was always an invitation. If they felt comfortable to grab hands, and then they connected. And it was like, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it because it was just such a neat little thing. And the kids were in awe about how that energy stick worked. So again, just really letting them know that, you know, these are the people that you're going to be surrounded by. And when, you know, this idea came about because our preschool advocacy group, our parents said, you know, they come home with these birthday invitations for Johnny and they're like, "I don't know who Johnny is. I don't know who Johnny's parents are." And being a small community, you kind of know everybody or you want to know everybody. And so they actually came up with this idea and then we grew. So we did each class first in December. And then in February, we had this big family fun night where all the classes got together. And so we had an art show and then a music presentation or music performance. And then 2 classes did one, 2 classes did the other, and then we flip-flopped, and then we all went together. And so then we had like 3 or 4 bouncy houses, and all the parents got to mingle together. So we started small with just the classrooms, and then the whole grade level that was going to be moving on then came. We have a transitional kindergarten classroom, and so they joined us in that. So we had 4 groups total. But yeah, it was just, I mean, it's amazing. So, and that all came from preschool advocacy group. So we're really pleased with how we're doing with getting those preschool parents and families engaged with us and us engaged with them.
Okay. And I will touch base here in a minute on the keeping them in the loop and kind of where we're at with that. So, okay. So these are just some points. I just kind of jotted some things down that we've been working on. So with our attendance, again, our goal is really just to work with the families rather than, you know, sending them a truancy referral or just sending them a letter. We're really trying to like make that contact with them and approach it through that relationship and trust-based lens. We've done some rewording of our attendance letters. And then we have kind of moved to doing improvement plans instead of truancy referrals, especially in the junior, senior high. It seems like with Mr. Zellers, we would typically like make contact with the families and things, but then send a truancy, whereas we're trying to bring them in now or meet them where they're at, whether that's a phone conference or going to them, whatever it might be, and having meetings with the family to kind of try to figure out that root cause of what's causing the attendance issues. We also created or co-created with our regional stakeholder group an understanding absences document that goes out. It went with our first day papers to the families, and then it's also in our newsletter. And I'll show you that on one of the next slides. With our communication, this is also from our regional stakeholder group. They were very vocal our first meeting of like, we have all these different platforms that teachers communicate on. And so if like they had a kindergartner and a 4th grader, they may be using Dojo and Remind. So they had all these different apps and they said it was just pretty overwhelming. So we came up with the idea to, it's called Rooms, and it is through our school website. And we have an app, and at the bottom of the app, you can just simply click over from like the information section and like sports events and stuff over to the Rooms to where you can communicate with any of your kids' teachers on that platform. Obviously, that doesn't work for all, so we really encourage teachers to communicate whatever the family prefers. Some are email, some are text. I mean, some are Facebook message, whatever they prefer. We did do some restructuring of our parent-teacher conferences as well. I provided a rubric to the teachers, kind of things they could ask and questions they could ask, or, you know, encouraging them to listen more than they're talking, and really just getting to know their families, along with positive communication. We did a challenge at the beginning of the year I know the challenge is probably not the best way to go about it, but we did do that at the beginning of the year. And so all of our teachers were encouraged to make contact with families, whether that be via phone, text message, rooms, a handwritten letter, video conference, whatever it may have been. Professional development, we've really focused on our administration and myself. We've been to the national conference, and then Lacey Linton, she attended Harvard. And then we've just kind of done bite-sized PD with our staff this year because we are immersing ourselves in new curriculum. So that's been primary focus this year. But within that curriculum, a lot of them are able, I have a preschool and kindergarten or second grade student myself. And so every week well, maybe not second grade every week, but they're constantly sending home things about how to link the learning to home and things we can do at home to follow through with that learning at school. But we haven't done any big professional development as far as like bringing anyone in or anything at this point. But that we'll be looking at that for our next year's budget. This is the understanding absences report that goes out the first day that I told you about. And then in our newsletter, it just simplifies the meaning of excused, unexcused parent request. And then our local pediatrician is also a part of our regional stakeholder group. And so the illness guidelines down at the bottom, she helped us kind of create those because after COVID, it seems like people, if their children got sick, they would keep them home longer after COVID because that was really the expectation during COVID. Whereas now that has changed. So that's just some basic guidelines. And then we did include the new Indiana law on student attendance on there as well. Not going to go through all of this, but on the left, you'll see our attendance letter in the elementary before. That's our 7-day letter. And then over to the right is our updated letter that we just finalized right before spring break, actually. So we're using those now. Just really, again, moving from that punitive approach, we took off the habitual absence code on there, simplified some of the language. And then at the end, you can see like on the left that we didn't really encourage them to reach out to us. We just told them basically, make sure you call in your absences. And on the right, they're encouraged to contact Mrs. Mitchell at their earliest convenience to set up a time. So typically from there, she will either, talk with the family or set up a meeting, or she'll refer them to me, again, just to get to that root cause, set up an improvement plan, whatever it may be. Jody, you want to touch base real quick on this slide?
Sure. I'm Jody French, and I'm in the senior high school, and we've been working on communication with our families as well. And in the high school, it's just a little bit different ball game. So one of the things we started this year with another grant opportunity that we had is a podcast. It's called the Commodore Cast. And basically, it's just a way to help tell our stories and our student stories about what's going on at Perry Central and meet families where they are at their homes. Podcasts are really, a lot of people do listen to them. And so this has been a really fun way. We have a teacher that is leading this, but we are interviewing students and they're telling their stories about things that they're doing at school. Or sometimes we get on there and just talk about upcoming events. So that's been a really positive way to reach out to our families. Our pathways, we have a lot of college and career pathways at Perry Central. We're a little bit different. We house our own CTE programs. And then we're also an early college high school. So we also have a way for students to earn their Indiana College Core, which is their first year of college, for free. And then this year we have 13 students earning their associate's degrees. And so we can just continue to move down this path to changing what high school can be for students. And a couple of things to really point out, we try to meet students where they are and individualize student schedules and students' days, and make that fit for those individual students based on what's going on in their lives. And that, I think that helps keep them connected to us a lot longer. And we have a lot of success there. We even started a Perry Central Online Academy, and we use that for hybrid schedules, or sometimes students really need full-time online.
And it's really been helpful because we can provide supports with that online program where they might not get in other state-run online situations. We've also started a marketing campaign called Pursue with Purpose. We really want our community and our students to start understanding how high school has changed. When I went through high school, which was a really long time ago, but you just take a class from everywhere and it's just all about graduating high school. Now, students can graduate with a college degree. They can earn industry certifications. They can gain work experience while they're here at school. So really taking your high school career and making it the most meaningful part of your, helping you to really launch into your future is really important. And so we're trying to connect with and tell those stories of our students and how they're, whether it's they're going to college, whether they launch straight into a career, they're getting an industry certification, such as a welding certification or diesel cert, and how they're utilizing that to launch into just whatever they're going to start after high school, so that we can keep our students connected to us for as long as possible. And then the last thing that, well, it's not the last thing, we do a lot of stuff, but one of the big projects that came out of especially this grant was digital safety and well-being. Cell phones are a really interesting thing that we have to manage here at school. It's a tool that we can use in a very positive way, and a lot of families feel safe when their kids have their cell phones with them. They see a lot of school violence and things, but it also can be a very detrimental piece for students with their mental health and their well-being. And so, how do we balance that? And then also digital safety gets away from parents, and gets away from all of us because it moves so fast. So how can we educate everyone about that? So we found a group out of California called Digital for Good, and they came to Perry Central, and they held presentations for students grades 3rd grade through 11th grade, and the students, all age groups, really, really liked it. And what they were trying to get across is that use your cell phone in a good way and not in a bad way. And then they talked about all the ways that all the safety pieces that students needed to know. And then we also had a presentation for parents to come in and learn about different social media platforms and the things that could happen to their students, and then how to keep their children safe. We continue to push out their curriculum on our social media. And then we're also using the curriculum in our homerooms here in the building just to continue that message and try to educate people. Cell phones are not going away. So how can we educate everyone on how to use them safely and make sure that we're not detrimental with mental health? So those are the three big things that are happening in our high school right now. Thank you, Jody. I will say we had a digital safety course last spring, I think it was, and we had no parents show up. And I think we had like 18 or 20 that showed up this year. So that was a definite plus. The parents are very thankful. We actually, as a parent myself, I learned a lot about these apps and how they navigate things and how they hide things. And it was really good. I'm going to skip this slide. It is Natalie shared the slides. I know I'm out of time, but I do want to show my year 2 video, but you'll see this in the slides that Natalie shared.
At Perry Central, we believe in the power of family engagement. From preschool to high school, we are committed to building trusting relationships that support student success.
I believe family engagement is extremely important with elementary age. That's, when they're learning to like to go to school, be involved in the classroom, involved in extracurricular activities, and to have that engagement specifically with administration and the teachers is extremely important.
I think family engagement for students at this age is really, really important, because if they help us, we can get a lot further with like social, emotional things and also academic things. So it's good.
So the mixers we've had are donuts with grown-ups, and then we had a song and art show, and then we had bounce houses after that. And I feel like they both went super well.
The most successful one I felt like was the art, music, and fun night, because the parents like seeing the kids up on the stage singing, and then they like to see their art, and it gave the kids and the parents time to interact about the art that they had done. And then the fun night gave the parents opportunity to speak to each other and mingle amongst themselves.
I thought that the preschool events were great. So it was really nice, like at the Donuts with Grown-ups, I actually saw somebody I graduated with had a kid in my son's class. So it was neat to see the parents and put like faces to the kids' names as well. So they were really fun.
At the fun night, whenever we had, like when we were at the bouncy houses, a lot of the moms came up to me and they said, hey, you know, this is good for my husband. He doesn't really have a time to connect with other dads on this level, and he's kind of over there interacting with other dads and connecting with them. So I thought that was a great thing that became of it.
The Commodore Cast is a brand new feature that we are kind of doing this year. I've been able to interview students, teachers, coaches about all sorts of things going on here at Perry Central.
So I think it's really a great addition to the school. I think as we enter into 2025 and beyond, finding those new ways as it relates with technology to communicate to parents and students, I think are critical. And I personally enjoy listening to it.
Podcast seems to be a pretty accessible way for a lot of folks to be filled in on current events. Sometimes there are messages that teachers would like to get out to parents that we might not be able to do on a text-based scale. That'll open up the line of communication more between staff and parents, and also coaches and parents.
I do find how I am more up to speed and just in the know on events and other topics.
The app is great because you can, like I said, just message directly to the teacher or the principal or whoever you need to talk to, the office, about a change of schedule. So that's been very beneficial for us.
The teachers are really good about letting parents know what's going on in the classroom, what kind of things do they have planned, what lessons they're doing for the week, just a lot of anticipatory things that's helpful for parents.
We have the podcast, and that's great. The app, Rooms, Google Classroom, and all teachers are accessible via email. So personally, my experience is, I think they do a great job just providing multiple avenues to communicate and connect.
Family engagement is about building trust and relationships so students can thrive. At Perry Central, we are more than a school. We are a family.
Okay, so I was gonna have time for wrap up, but I know I'm for sure out of time. So if you guys see the questions, I just was asking what evidence you noticed from the videos or from the information we gave you today that has showed that our approach is developed. So if you want to drop that in the comments, you can. If not, that's totally fine, but I know I'm out of time. So I'm going to turn it back over to Natalie.
Brittany, we do have some comments before you go. Good info. Could this be shared with us, please? I like this communication tool about attendance. The language of the law is not friendly, but this looks better. And love the paper with explanation between unexcused and excused absences. Love the podcast for junior senior families and students. Great presentation. Nice job. That's it.
Okay.
Again,
yes, we can definitely share the things with Natalie to send out, or whoever can get those out. So
Thank you. Thank you again. And again, family engagement from the top down. And you really showed that by Tara, your superintendent, not only being here at the conference, but being a part of the presentation. So that says a lot about Prairie Central. And for those who noticed that Brittany shared the year 1 and the year 2 video. And as you can see, year 1 was basically talking about the parents, and year 2 was really involving the parents. The parents were invited to co-create the video, to sit down and to listen and to be heard. So that was an excellent transition and showing how family engagement is really evolved around you and Prairie Central. Now, I know that a couple of our districts have been talking about the regional stakeholder group, and I just want to briefly say that that came out of the grant, and what that is at least 50% of their members that meet. How often that district wants to meet are parents, and the other 50% or whatever the percentage is less can be staff, educators, community partners to really develop goals. And it's really shown right now that your goals are really coming out your regional stakeholder group, Brittany. So great job. Next, we have BCSC, and I will be putting their link in the chat.
Thanks, Natalie. Hi, I am Heather Hester, and I'm the Director of Family Engagement for Bartholomew Consolidated School Corporation. We call ourselves BCSC because it's easier. And we are a suburban district for this grant. Thank you. I've been working in education now for over 20 years as either a classroom teacher or in the education nonprofit world as a school development coach working with teaching staff and school and district level administration, and then as a project manager leading the design and delivery of services for schools. And I am nearing the end of my first year in this role and have been excited to be able to use my design background to lead me through systemic change thinking in this project. Megan Schaff, who is also on this call with me and navigating the slide deck for us, is a teammate, and she is my biggest support in the work with family engagement. She leads the district's title programming and many, many other initiatives that serve our student and family population. And I invite her to pop in with any additional context, comments, or information as we go. District demographics. As you can see in the slide, we serve students from early stages of life all the way through adult education programming. We have several elementaries. We're building a 12th right now, or getting ready to. We have 2 middle schools, 2 large comprehensive high schools that have recently adopted a cohort model. Our 3rd high school offers PBL experience. And we are known for our C4 offerings that are available for our and surrounding districts to access. We have over 11,000 students representing 63 languages. And Columbus, it's important to know that we're known as home for Cummins, Toyota, NTN, so we are a very big, growing, and diverse community. Okay. When I accepted this role, I had the support from the beginning of a strong leadership with the intended direction of the project. I also came in with extensive experience in design and system level thinking and knew that before I could do anything, I needed to listen to those for whom I would be designing. The first step in this design process is to understand the needs. So I began with empathy interviews. These are different from traditional interviews or conversations because they're designed to allow for open and honest sharing of experiences. The goal is to allow for a safe space and time for people to tell their stories. The key characteristics of empathy interviews come from the ability of the person interviewing to engage solely in listening. As humans, we are made to interact, socialize, and connect, and it is a skill to be able to ask questions that allow for a perspective that is likely different from your own. The role is to listen, probe, and offer encouragement to elaborate and not place judgment, connect, or defend or justify something you think or maybe know to be different than what you're hearing. So when I took this job, I began to conduct empathy interviews. I talked to everyone I possibly could to hear about their experiences with BCSC schools, our staff, and also our families. I completed around 50 interviews and tried to talk with groups that matched the demographics of our community. Empathy interviews continue to be a regular part of my work, and I'm always trying to connect with families that are the hardest to reach. Once I had a good sense of our community feelings and needs, I assembled our stakeholder group. We call ourselves the Family Engagement Council, and many of these members came from my connections made during my empathy interviews. So we represent the district and building level administrators, teachers that have kids in the system, family members, community partners that support our families, and also students. They are an incredible group who are invested in the work and are willing to volunteer their time and their perspective and expertise. So because I have a stakeholder group, I immediately put them to work. And because we are a group that was all new to each other, we prioritized spending time getting to know each other, building a positive and safe working culture. This was important because we knew that we would possibly encounter some hard conversations. We also needed to wrap our heads around what our district has already been doing to support family engagement. So we started with a gap analysis that allowed for us to approach the topic with a positive lens. We studied BCSC's mission and vision statements, and then considered all of our different opportunities we've experienced that BCSC has provided. On one side of the cliff, we listed the efforts that felt like successes. We then dreamed really big about what BCSC would look like if we approached family engagement as a partnership to design a school system that meets the needs of families, as opposed to how families can better function in our existing school system. So then we used the opposite cliff to describe what this perfect scenario would look like. Then the final stage was to bridge that gap between the two cliffs with possible strategies that we could use to get us from where we are now to where we hope to be. From here, we were able to consider goals and strategies that could become our action plan. This was a lengthy process, but we were able to refine 5 or 6 goals down to 3, one specifically around communication, one around school level, and one for district level engagement. We then identified short, mid, and long-term strategies, potential barriers, and indicators of success to tell if we were making a difference. And Megan and I also spent some time crosswalking our action plan to the district's focus areas to be sure that they were aligned with our current district initiatives. After we developed our action plan as a stakeholder group, members of our stakeholder group were concerned that we had not heard enough from the voices of those that were disconnected from schools. We decided to do another round of empathy interviews with the target population being family members who are hard to reach, which you can imagine was a challenge. I trained a small group of volunteers from the stakeholder group who suggested they could use their connections and relationships to try to hear from those individuals. We also invited a panel of multilingual family members to talk about their experience with American schools. It was interesting to hear about how we tend to assume all families are used to the expectations and processes that we are used to, but maybe they are not. We learned how important it is to provide opportunities for transparency between schools and multilingual families. And we often make assumptions, and that leads to a disconnect. We also invited a panel of high school students to offer their perspective and opinions on what family engagement should look like as they get older and more independent. We often talk about how teenagers don't want or need their families to be involved at school. So we decided we should just go ahead and ask them. And they were thoughtful, insightful, smart, honest, and they do want their families involved. And so making sure that the new data sets aligned with our action plan and then making some minor adjustments was the final step. We knew early on that we wanted to focus our first years of the grant work on the middle school level. Elementary schools by nature offer opportunities and the invitation for families to be more engaged, and family members are more comfortable advocating for their young students. And our high school had recently gone to the cohort model, which is designed to offer more wraparound support to students for each of their 4 years. In middle school and BCSC is only 7th and 8th grade, so it's a blip on the map. The goal has been to build supports around the transition to and from middle school, offer more opportunities to build in family connections, and also influence that general mindset around the middle school years. You know what I'm talking about. Anytime anyone says they work in a middle school, teach middle school kids, are a middle school kid, the general consensus is, oh, bless your heart. I don't know how you do it. And what they're missing is that middle school is amazing, and we need to highlight the importance of building strong academic and social practices during these formative years that can support them through high school and beyond. And I think middle school kids are amazing, and that is the message that we are trying to influence. This year is able to develop a middle school building liaison team. We call ourselves the BLT because we like acronyms, right? And we have 7th and 8th grade and SPED teaching representatives from both of the middle schools. And we met regularly to connect the divide between our 2 buildings. We dug into research, we did a book study, and developed PD using the Closing the Loop book mentioned by Tabitha, and shared frustrations, but also best practices. In our meetings, we realized we needed representation from the elementary schools to inform us about what they were doing through the 6th grade year to prepare students and their families for middle school. So we were able to add 6th grade teachers from each of the elementary buildings to the building liaison team halfway through the year. And our work has been focused primarily on recognizing ways we can bridge that gap between elementary and middle school, and then better support our middle school students and families as they prepare for high school.
Yeah, I think I want to just make a quick note that it was very powerful right in the beginning as we were working with administrators whose light bulb kind of went off and said, oh yeah, we talk about trying to get our students from elementary students to high school ready students. And they made that connection right away that we also need to help our parents go from being elementary parents to high school parents. And how do we look at those things together and not separately as we just sort of traditionally have. So there's been a lot of really great energy around that in Heather's work.
Thanks, Megan.
Yeah.
Lastly, we've been working to embed family engagement strategies within our district's professional development pathways so that school staff can view partnering with families as a solution to a problem, as opposed to one or more tasks to add to their plates. District leadership is looking at PD dates for next year to include a focus on family engagement. We would like to reinstitute parent and teacher conferences, which since COVID only happen sporadically and not consistently like they used to. And as you've heard from several places today, it's really important to provide that opportunity. And we know that we still have a lot of work to do, and I feel like we are 1.5 years, almost 2 years into this grant, and we are just now picking up momentum. Systems change is slow, and Megan and I talk often about how we're in it for the marathon, not the quick race, and so we want to create sustainability with what we do that will last for years and years after this grant. It's exciting to see more of our school leadership become familiar with and talk about our efforts as a district. And it's been really fun to partner with schools who are invested in learning and improving in service of our families. And our goal is to continue to work through our action plan while being mindful that the community needs will evolve, and we'll need to be responsive to that. Yeah. And that is us.
Thank you, BCSC. You do have some great comments in the chat. They love that you're engaging students and listening to their voice. Couple of those. So great job at what you're doing. As you can see, BCSC started with the empathy interviews, and you could really see how that influenced their regional stakeholder group. And I want to say I have attended a couple of their regional stakeholder group. And what Heather says, that you don't sit back and just observe, you actually really work with everyone. And yes, it is a partnership, and it is seen throughout the regional stakeholder group, and developing a lot of good ideas and implementing those strategies within the district. So great job. Now we should have Goshen.
Hello. Buenos dias, everyone. My name is Sandra Perez. I am the English Learner Specialist. I support EL staff, students, and family. And together with Assistant Superintendent Lori Schreiner and Attendance Coordinator Jeremy Sheets, we have collaborated with InSource and utilized the EFFECT grant over the past 2 years. We serve a diverse group of 6,221 students from preschool to 12th grade. We have 7 elementaries and 3 secondary buildings. One is in alternative school. Our graduation rate is 93.1. 70.7% of our 3rd grade students demonstrated proficiency on the IRE 3 assessment, but we are currently working to improve 6th grade I-Learn math and ELA, and also college readiness. Goshen is known for its vibrant community and rich history. It's famously recognized as the RV capital of the world. These businesses contribute significantly to our local economy. The town has a population of approximately 34,000 people, with a significant 30% representation from Hispanic or Latino. This diversity enriches our community and schools, providing a wide range of cultural perspectives and experiences. The Goshen Chamber of Commerce actively collaborates with businesses to enhance students' educational experiences. Through partnerships with local businesses, the Chamber helps create opportunities for students to engage in real-world learning experiences, internships, and career exploration. Before the EFFECT grant, we used the EL Parent Liaison model to connect with EL parents. The parent liaisons help build strong relationships between the school and parents, making them feel welcome and supported. Since 2015, there is one parent liaison in each building who works hard to understand the needs and backgrounds of the EL families. They provide personalized help, making sure parents could navigate the school system and advocate for their children. The parent liaisons organize cultural events and key training during the school year. Despite the good relationships, the parent liaisons' efforts were somewhat isolated from other school initiatives, limiting the overall impact. After the EFFECT grant, we started diving into the dual capacity building framework. The dual capacity building framework is designed to support and development of family engagement strategies, policies, and programs. It emphasizes building the capacity of both educators and families to engage in effective partnerships. It outlines essential conditions and goals necessary for successful family-school partnerships, aiming to improve student achievement and its school's improvement. It serves as a guide to create meaningful and trusting relationships between families and school, enhancing the overall engagement effort. Before the EFFECT grant, Goshen parent engagement efforts through the EL Parent Liaison model was strong, in building relationships, but limited by the silo approach. We established the Red Hawk Rising Group, and with the EFFECT grant, we aim to integrate and expand those efforts for a more cohesive approach. The group includes administrators, staff, teachers, parents, and community members, fostering strong, trusting relationships among all stakeholders. By working together to share ideas, plan events, and create projects, the group emphasizes collaboration and mutual support. Regular meetings and activities encourage active participation from everyone involved, ensuring that all voices are heard and valued. The group focuses on enhancing the skills and knowledge of both educators and families, aligning with the framework's goal of building capacity for effective partnerships. By listening to everyone's input and working together, the group creates an inclusive environment where all members feel involved and respected. The initiatives and projects developed by the group aim to improve educational experience and promote student success, which is a key goal for the dual capacity framework. I'm now leave you with the Assistant Superintendent, Mrs. Schreiner, who will provide more specific information about our efforts to improve academics through parent engagement.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for that introduction. So as you know, with the EFFECT grant, the Red Hawks, to have a regional stakeholder group was a priority for receiving that grant and a criteria for the work. And that has been so impactful in meeting the definition and expectations of the dual capacity framework. So I guess anything that I would say to anyone who wants to do this work is you really need to know your context well. And the best way to get that context is to have that diversity of stakeholders in the same in the same room, meaning parents, community members, staff members, a combination of administrators, teachers, parent liaisons, so that we have that holistic perspective. So we're not missing any critical voices, because when educators think about family engagement and what we quote unquote should be doing, it's a very narrowed perspective. And so bringing in that diversity of perspective has been really important to us really understanding our context in Goshen, which will be different, for example, than the 4 other LEAs. And so we really want to do that deep dive into that needs assessment. And so one of the first things that we did in this group to progress in the work was a needs assessment. We did start very broad and really just having them name what they valued for Goshen Community Schools and what parent engagement looked like and what they thought were the strengths, but then kind of generally where were areas that they thought the district could improve upon, and again, through the lens of parent engagement. And so what we initially had in that needs assessment was just kind of like broader topics of strengths and needs, which was fine. That was a great place to start. But what we knew is we really wanted to start, we are a learning organization. As Mrs. Perez said, we are working on those learner outcomes of trying to improve literacy rates, English language arts and math scores, graduation rate, and college and career experience rates. And so what we know is in this work, for it not to be siloed, it has to be integrated into our systems so that it does impact learner outcomes. And so we did then narrow our focus to that of academics, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. The other way that we identified our areas of need in our contracts or in our context was the use of the parent engagement survey that has come out of this grant. There are different parent engagement surveys that you can find and give, but I just want to tell you a little bit about what the survey identified for our district. One of the first things that it identified was that our families feel more confident in supporting learning, their child's learning, than they do in participating in family school engagement activities. That really surprised us. We thought it would be the other way around. We thought they would say they feel more confident in participating in learning activities. And so we needed to do a little bit of a deeper dive there. And I'm going to circle back to that one in particular. The other thing that the data told us was that our school staff recognize the importance of family school engagement, but lack the capacity to effectively implement it. And that matches the research that tells us that teachers, other school staff members don't receive a lot, maybe in their undergraduate work or even through professional development in their school experience that helps them use family engagement as a strategy. Families are more likely to be satisfied with family school communication than school staff. That surprised us. So our families think we're rock solid with our school communication, but our school staff did not identify that we were rock solid in school communication. So again, that's telling us, that's building a need for training for our staff around family engagement. Two other interesting points: family school engagement varied by level of school, and family school engagement varied by race and ethnicity. So I'd like to circle back to that very first one, where our parents are telling us they feel confident in supporting their student learning. And so that's, that's their perception. But how do we as a district verify that our parents should be feeling confident, right? Because we know we've got those learner outcomes that are not where we want them to be, and we've got work to do. This is an interesting research point out of a Gallup survey that was given to parents. And a question I have, if you can just put it in the chat if you want, or you can think to yourself, but from that Gallup survey, I want you to think, what percentage of parents, when asked, said their child was at grade level? What percent do you think? So you can think to yourself, you can put it in the chat if you would like. So according to the survey conducted by Gallup in partnership with Learning Heroes, parents stated, or the survey said that 90% of parents believe their children are performing at or above grade level outcomes from the research, highlighting a significant parent perception gap where parents often overestimate their child's academic progress compared to standardized test scores. And I would say that this matches where we're at with a district, right? So what are ways that we support our parents in really helping them understand what the grade level expectations are for academics and how well their student is achieving that? And that is where we know we've got some work to do. So in this work, what we know is family engagement, and you heard Carla say this in her keynote, it's a strategy. It's not an end goal. It's not a goal you make, but it's a strategy to get to your learner outcomes. So we really wanted to think about how we're doing with parent engagement with Tier 1 academics. So we put our, we call them our regional stakeholder group. We call them the Red Hawks Rising group. We put them to work here. So we had them brainstorm if we could better partner around academics in our district, what would that look like? They came up with 8 different ways they thought that we could partner around academics. And I'm going to highlight 2 ways. They talked a lot about workshops, videos around learning or ways they can support, especially at the elementary. The idea for secondary was they would really like a syllabus for each course alike. Now that seems like maybe obvious, like our teachers would have those. But what we know is there's not consistency in providing an outline, an overview of course requirements so parents can really understand grade level expectations. So we had those 2 challenges. One was at the elementary level, what are those high priority learning outcomes at each grade level? And how do we put that in family-friendly language that parents can understand and actually help support? And then at the secondary level, at high school, how might a syllabus in every course alike help be a communication tool so that parents can support their older children in time management, setting goals, meeting benchmarks, and those kinds of things. So those were 2 fantastic ideas out of the 8 that we thought we could really do some work around. So the picture you're looking at right now is we brought back some sample syllabi and then some sample, what we call like keys to success, but high priority standards in parent-friendly language. and we ask for their feedback. So the regional stakeholder group, they are helping us identify needs. They are brainstorming ideas that we could try, but their other role is a feedback loop, so that when we try things, we can bring those things back and we can get their feedback on, and how are we doing? So what are we doing that's different than before? And how are we doing with it? And how is it impacting our students and families? The other important part of this grant is that we're using evidence-based research with whatever strategies we're trying. One thing that was really, really awesome was that the 8 ideas, those ideas that the parents generated without a lot of research support, actually matched research strategies in this book, Everyone Wins. As an example, there are other books out there, certainly, that would have research-based strategies. But this is a book that we all, our 5 LEAs, that we read together, and we talked about the different ideas. And that was really exciting to know. And we let the parents know this, that a lot of their great ideas are what the research tells us works. And the district priorities then was to listen to our regional stakeholder group and to really look at our high priority grade level standards at the elementary that we thought parents could really, just a few, could really help us with. A syllabus in every course alike as a communication tool for parents of older students. And then there's a research-based strategy called APTT, Academic Parent Teacher Teams. And this is an alternative to a parent conference. Now, we are not there yet, but the vision of the syllabus and the grade level high priority standards in parent-friendly language has to come as kind of a precursor before we can get to this research-based strategy. So I'd like to just quickly go through, and some of you might be familiar with this strategy already, but just the purpose of this, if you remember the dual capacity framework, it's about believing our parents, our partners, and believing in their confidence and capacity, believing in our staff that they can use parent engagement strategy as a tool to better learner outcomes. But we have to build the capacity of everyone's staff and parents to do that. And that's the purpose of the academic parent teacher teams. And so the purpose of those teams is to, when you meet with parents, not just to give them information about their grade or data points, that's certainly part of it, the data points. But then the purpose is to give them just a few tools that they can actually use and support at home. And then having teachers model what those strategies might be, and giving teachers or parents an opportunity to practice them in a supportive environment. And then over time, provide feedback to them and check in to see how it's going, that support at home. Or obviously for older students, you know, it would be, how do you support your child with time management and study skills? And so here are just a few steps that explain the academic parent teacher team concepts. So basically you're meeting with parents, you're letting them know, again, in parent-friendly language, what are those like core, just a few grade level standards that if their child really, really worked at would make a huge difference in their overall learner outcomes. Then 3, sharing, discussing the data, making sure parents are understanding that, how their child's data fits into where the class is and where the class needs to be. Again, everything obviously confidential. And you can see in step 4, the teacher models anything that the parent might be able to do to help support that learning at home. 5, again, modeled, supported practice by the parent. And then with goal setting, and then again, that feedback loop to say, how do we together as partners, how is it impacting the student learning over time? Because if we can get parents to engage and feel confident and support, that will move our students even further, and we know that. So again, we have not implemented this yet. That is the vision. That is where we want to go, but we are taking critical steps to be able to get there. So what's the parent role? So I talked about our role and our responsibility to build capacity and confidence for parents. So our goal then and our vision for parents is they feel confident developing a robust home learning environment. Now let me be clear. Just like our students tier 3 students, we have families that, as Carla said, their basic needs are not being met. Their challenges and barriers are so great they may not be ready to develop this robust home learning environment. So we have to know our families, and we have to have support systems so that we're meeting their basic needs. But for those families who are ready, we also don't want to just not do that, because we know our families have sometimes big barriers and challenges. So for parents who are ready, how do we help them develop that robust home learning environment? How do we help them know their child's grade level curriculum priorities? We can have them say, hey, we really want you to know these very few most important priorities. How do we help them prioritize interactions and discussions with their child to support learning in a supportive way? And even possibly, especially at those lower grades, be able to support learning activities at home. So that is just how we are working parent engagement as a strategy into academics through a tier 1 lens. We'll go deeper, tier 2, tier 3, but right now that's where we are. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Sheets, and he's going to talk about how we've worked at parent engagement as a strategy through attendance, trying to improve our attendance data.
Thanks, Lori. Afternoon, everybody. I'm going to start off by just sharing a little bit about how our work with the Family Engagement Grant has impacted our attendance by strengthening the things we do. We're doing some things different this year based on what we know. And because of that, we all know that we get attendance rate that is measured by the state of Indiana. And I was actually able to dig into that data this morning. And Goshen Community Schools just had their 163rd day of school yesterday. So we have 17 more days of school with students. In 2024, our 94% student attendance rate, which was 10 or less absences for the school year in 180 days, both excused and unexcused, it was 48% as a district last year. This year, we're currently at 60% of our students are at 94% or better, which is currently 9.5 days of school they can be absent. 90%. So our superintendent feels that 90% is a good measure for, and he's done a lot of research, and the studies show that 90% is also a good measure for student achievement. And so we also look at 90%, which is 18 days or less absences for a school year. In 2024 last year, our district was 72% of our students. And when I checked this morning, we're currently at 83% of our students. So things are in an uptick because of the things we feel that we're doing differently this year to build on, and what we will continue to do. I'm going to share a little bit about how that work is different now, and because of that family engagement group in each of the attendance tiers. So we'll look at tier 1 first of all. So most of our schools have a strong MTSS process for behavior and academics. And what we've tried to do is we've tried to bring in attendance into those discussions in MTSS. And so it's been an opportunity for us to improve our already established MTSS processes with behavior and academics and bring in attendance underneath it. So one of the things that we really worked hard on is communicating our absences to families. Some things we're doing differently because of our work is we're now, all schools have a choice. We would communicate through Parent Square if a student was absent. But what we're doing differently now is we gave the schools a choice as to when those messages go out to parents, the frequency that they want, the time of day. And so elementary buildings are doing it different than junior high buildings, and are doing different than our high school building. Another thing that we do differently is we have a school in the district that their teachers check attendance at the end of the day. And if a student is absent, and which means it's not showing an excused absence by the end of the day, we've provided them with a template, and they just shoot out a Parent Square message to that parent that says, hey, we missed Lori's day at school. We hope she's here tomorrow. And what that does is it's the communication is real short. Yeah, we're not asking a lot of details, but the parent then kind of feels like, oh, maybe I'll Maybe I'll check into calling the school. Maybe I forgot. Maybe I got busy, those type of things. And so the parent usually calls into us. Another thing is we had a lot of all-day absences in the past. So to kind of combat that, and through our research and work with the grant, we've provided our parent liaisons and our office staff with a script. So if a parent calls in, or if a parent picks up at their child, they kind of tell them, hey, you know, they might update them on attendance. They also say, you know, just missing for the absence, coming before the appointment, after the appointment is best. And then, you know, just continue to communicate the sicknesses and the illnesses. Another thing that we've done is through those conversations, the feedback that we've gotten from parents is they're wanting to, if it's around the lunchtime, they're worried about their kids' meals. And so they want to provide their kids meals, so it extends that absence. So one of the things that we haven't discussed this, but it's come out, is we might think about trying to provide a sack lunch or have them available for students that have appointments around lunch, so that if they come back after the lunch, they can have that and we can communicate that out to parents. Our health guidelines used to be, we would just tell parents, you know, keep your kids home if they're 24 hours, if they're fever free or they were vomiting. Something that we're doing differently this year is nurses are communicating that. They're also nurses are giving them the option of determining how long. So let's say a kid comes to the nurse's office, they're sick. If the nurse calls the parent and sends them home, we've changed our practices for entering that absence, and it becomes an excused nurse, which is different than an excused ill. So it differentiates a parent absent from a school absence. And so we're doing that differently. And what that does is it gives us, and we give the parents an opportunity. It's still an absence, right? But it's a nurse, a school sent home compared to a parent one. And that's helped out. We're also talking with the nurses. We've seen a trend where parents will call in day one and say, hey, Johnny's sick. But then the next day they don't. And they just assume that the school knows and does it excused. So we're looking at collaborating with a nurse and talking about, like, how can we communicate that better so that parents know the expectations. Call in for every absence, not making that a gray area. Last area before we switch was building future skills. And we felt like we were doing that in tier 2 and tier 3. But now we've got our school counselors doing some lessons where they push into classrooms and they talk about the connections between, like, their school attendance and the work that they do in their jobs in the future. We also do parent night communications about data, and we just done a lot more than just the tier 2 and tier 3. Thanks, Lori. One of the things that we do differently in tier 2 is, you know, we used to do a lot of, and a lot of the LEAs have talked about the communication as being a little bit more stern and not as welcoming. And so we're trying to work on that. We're moving away from the more punitive fear, that kind of stuff. And we're trying to adjust attendance in positive ways. Working with to try to find out the root causes of those things that are preventing students from coming to school. And we're also, the different thing that we've done is we've actually put a follow-up date in our plans that we've made with families and students to check in and review the plan and see if it's going better, you know, notify the families, or if it's not, what moves can we change to make it more successful for that child. One of those things through tier 2 is that we're finding that a lot of times parents need support in problem solving. They go right to, I'm not sure what to do with it, and they're not sure what to do. And so we've tried to help through that and problem solve transportation issues, problem solve health issues, problem solve communication issues, problem solve morning routines. So they have a backup plan for the plan. So to be clear, like we'll make a plan if a student is missing some school, and we'll include a backup plan to help them problem solve, the parent problem solve through that. So hopefully it sticks. And then as you know, those families might have younger children, then maybe they can do that problem solving on their own. In tier 3, we would, we know that some kids need consequences. And so, we'd have attendance hearings in the past, and if you don't follow those, you might go to expulsion hearing, you might go to those type of things. We're still, so what we're doing differently is we're still having attendance hearings, and we're still having consequences, but we're, trying to work with parents and figure out like what is it that's doing it. And in some cases, we have worked out that we have alternative placements for students. They'll go to our Goshen Community Schools alternative program called the Chandler Innovation Academy, which gives them support. We might, we also have a partnership with the Crossing, which is an alternative school. They might go there. And we might do even a creative partial day where, maybe that student's dealing with some anxiety issues, and we might have them come partial day and ease in, add some time, until they're successful. But we do a lot. So through this, we've always looked at data at tier 3, but now we're contacting home, phone calls, home visits. And like I said, we're having those attendance hearings and meetings that do come down to consequences sometimes, but we're trying to be creative with research-based ideas that go into supporting the students. That's, that's number one. What is best for the students? So that's what I have, and I'm going to pass it back to Lori to pick us back up.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. And so as you can see, we took the law said that we needed, districts had to have an attendance officer, and I hope you can see Jeremy is our attendance officer, but really, again, we've built that position into our systems to engage families instead of it being this and every once in a while he does have to do the punitive piece right over here, but you can see how we chose a person that's gifted in understanding parents and families, the MTSS process, and how we want to tier 1 standardize our processes while at the same time acknowledging there are going to be differences in that standardization per level, but really providing consistency in our data collection and our communication incentivizing in tier 1, and then how we support an MTSS process tier 2, tier 3. So super grateful for him. So I just want to conclude by one last point about communication. Communication is everything. And if you remember, when I showed you the trends that came out of our parent engagement survey, it said that our families feel rock solid about our communication, but our staff feel like we need improvement. And so like anything in our district, we start with our principals as the lead learners. And so if our principals are able to use effective communication to bring families into the learning process, that our principals will be able to teach their staff to use effective communication to bring families into the learning process. So that's where we want them to end up. So we are using some of the grant money to bring in Patricia Weinzapfel. She actually will be here on Friday this week. Very excited. I've read her book. It's very practical and easy to understand. And she's going to be coming and presenting to our principals. And then our principals understand that even though they're put in those positions because they're very skilled at working with families, are we still doing the practices that Patricia knows are best practices for engaging families? And we need to make sure that we're building those practices into our system. So just to conclude, hopefully you've just a reminder that your context is so important for this work. And so is the role of the regional stakeholder group for that authentic partnership, starting with them, a needs assessment, and then starting some innovative ideas, and then seeing how those ideas take root and impact. Parent engagement as a strategy to learn our outcomes through our systems, not as just a goal we have over here siloed, as Mrs. Perez talked about before. That's a little bit how that felt. So we're trying to be a team in how we approach parent engagement in our district. Capacity building for parents and staff is essential. And so thinking about creative ways, Patricia even gives a PDF because she understands not all districts can afford for her to come and work directly with staff, but she has a PDF that talks about how you can build the capacity of your principals and staff and how to use parent-friendly communication. And then finally, communication is everything. How do we talk about our families when no one's looking? And that starts with the principal. So the principal has to believe that our families are partners, and they have to communicate in that way. And they have to listen for how their staff talks about families and make sure that we truly believe that our parents can make a difference and partner with us to impact student learner outcomes. And that concludes Goshen's presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate how your regional stakeholder group really is working together, collaborating, and everybody getting in the same room. And you develop that needs assessment, and which transferred to the family engagement initiatives you're doing a district, and allowing what we develop as a grant. The SFEC developed a family and staff survey. Those who are a part of the model sites, those surveys are out now, and you're using that to gauge your next step. So great job, Goshen. And we have Gary.
Can you see my screen, Natalie?
You are good to go.
All right, perfect. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamila Adams. I am the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Assessment. I am joined by Dr. Cynthia Treadwell, who's our Chief Academic Officer. And we are here to present about Gary Community School District. Dr. Treadwell, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be in a virtual space with you today and share a little bit about our journey here at Gary.
All right, so we are going to just go through quick welcome and introductions as we just did, but we really wanted to structure our presentation because there's been so much change in our district around where we started, where we are now, and where we're headed. And so we're going to give you a little bit of information about that. And then if we have any questions, we'll take that as well as providing some feedback.
All right, so I will get us started. And I need to start by saying I've only been here as the Chief Academic Officer since October of 2024. And Ms. Adams has been in her role since March of 2025. And so we thought it was very important to give you some historical perspective about Gary as our journey looks different than the other sites that have shared. And we know the grant allows for that. And so we wanted to give a little bit of history about our district, and not just our district, but also our community, because what happens in our local community definitely impacts what happens within our local school context. And so we wanted to kind of go back. Someone shared this with myself and Miss Adams. I can't remember. And they were like, did you hear about the Gary plan? I was like, no. And so they so graciously shared some information about it. And we thought it was interesting because here we are many years later, looking to change what's happening in the Gary schools. And so the Gary plan came about back in 1906 And really the goal was to do a few things: flexible scheduling, diversified curriculum, improving facilities, and distinguishing Gary schools as a model for progressive education. Sounds like what we're trying to do today, right? Trying to progressively move forward with some of the goals that we have currently. And so Superintendent Ritt back then wanted to include vocational training, sounds like CTE to me, college preparatory classes, and reflecting the belief in preparing students for diverse futures. Again, 1906 sounds very familiar to today. But despite those things, many things impacted the educational opportunities for students in Gary. White flight happened. There was the decline of the steel industry. And just last week, our mayor talked a lot about this in the State of the City address, just really what happened as a result of the decline of the steel industry and how much of the financial revenue that was in the city of Gary, as it was bustling and had lots of things going on, it literally stripped those things from the city, which had a negative impact on not only the community at large, but also the school district in the city of Gary. And so in 2017, many of you may know this, Gary became the first Indiana school district to be taken over by the state due to financial issues and concerns about the academic performance. And all of this ties back to what happened as a result of the decline of the steel industry. As many of the families left, so did the resources, so did the staple opportunities that were happening in Gary. All of those things collapsed under the decline of the steel industry, again, which impacted the academic performance. Next slide. And so just last year in 2024, July 1st, after 7 years, we were so graciously and excitedly giving back local control to the district, which was monumental for the district at large. Families were excited, students were excited, because many people felt over those 7 years that while the district was being taken over for financial reasons, there were so many other aspects that negatively impacted what was happening day to day. Families didn't feel valued, seen, and heard. They really felt ostracized, and so much happened over the last 7 years. And so as a result of coming back into local control, the district is now focused on improving the educational experience of our students, and not just our students, really building the capacity of the educators within our school buildings, making sure that our environments are safe and welcoming. As I said earlier, many of our families felt disenfranchised and not welcomed in the school when they were in state takeover, and really bolstering how we collaborate with local community agencies. And I'll just transparently say, as I've been coming in and meeting with folks, I've heard we've been trying to get in. And so now we're opening our doors intentionally, because there's resource in Gary, but many of it was kept out of the school district. And so we're welcoming them back with open arms. And so I also wanted to share some of our other data points. So in 2003, we had approximately 16,000 students enrolled, right? Right about now, we're a little bit over 4,500, which is great because there has been an increase in our enrollment since local control was regained. In 2019, the four-year graduation rate was 58% or 56% if you round it up. In 2023, there was an increase graduation rate to 81.56. But I also have to level here just a little bit. While our graduation rate, I always get tongue-tied there, had increased, what we saw was that there was not persistence for many of our students who were pursuing post-secondary opportunities. And so not just persistence, but also readiness once they got there. And so while the district has seen improvement over time, what has been true about our district for quite some time is that many of our students have challenges with literacy, right? So in 2023, fewer than half of our students actually passed iRead 3. And also in 2023, only 9.36% of our students were at or above proficiency on iLearn, which is hard to grapple with, but that is really just our work post state takeover. excuse me, math proficiency was also impacted. I'll just share for our high school, for SAT, before it was mandatory, only 1% of our students passed SAT. And so that I share this data really to kind of paint a picture for you. And while that data was that, I'm proud to say that this year there has been some increase in our SAT performance. We went from 1% to 9% of our students. And while it's not where we want to be, there is increase. There has been an intentional laser-like focus on improving what's happening in the classroom. Last but not least, on this slide, our average attendance for elementary schools is about 85%. We too have a goal of 90%, and we have been working diligently in applying many of those tier 3 strategies that Goshen mentioned as well, to really improve what's happening for our students, and then 75% for secondary schools. Some additional statistical data. We have 1 early childhood center, 5 elementary schools, and you have to imagine when we were over 16,000, we had many more schools, right? 2 middle schools, 1 high school, 1 virtual academy, and then 1 standalone career center, where many schools, their career centers are connected to the high school. Ours is about 15 minutes away, and our students are bused to engage in the learning that happens there. Our median household income is about 37%. And I mentioned earlier about how the economic collapse really impacted our community, but there's so much positivity coming back around that there are many industries that are looking to partner with Gary. And as a part of their partnership, they're making promises to ensure that jobs are available for our families. And why is that important? We know that families being able to provide for their students really increases their efficacy and their concentration on ensuring that their child goes to school. And so just wanted to share that tidbit of knowledge with you as well. Next slide. And so there is a new day in the district. In 2024, when Dr. Yvonne Stokes got here and she was appointed as the superintendent, and she began to engage with this grant and learn a little bit more about it and look at our data, she recognized the importance of tying the grant to a strong focus on improving literacy outcomes. And not just for students, but when you think about our demographics and how our families show up in our learning space, we recognize that many of them came up through the Gary Community School Corporation, and their experience with school was not as favorable as it needed to be. And so the priority on literacy was just not quite there. And so if we could bolster how parents experience literacy, their literacy success, then we should really see that tie and that connection to improving literacy outcomes for students. And so that is the center of our grant, is really how are we creating programs, supports, systems, and structures that allows literacy to be the center of the work, but not just within our classrooms, but also partnering with parents to do similar things, influence our decision-making around what's happening with kids in our classrooms and connected to literacy. Here, I'll turn it over to Ms. Adams to talk a little bit more about where we are now and where we are headed.
Thank you, Dr. Treadwell. So we are going to talk a little bit about the current state of GCSC. And so I just wanted to put our new vision and mission in there for you to take a look at, because our vision and mission both focus on kind of having an inclusive and comprehensive learning environment. And we are ensuring that all stakeholders are taken into account when it comes to GCSC. And it's not just student focused, but we understand that families are an integral part of working with our students and their success. So some of the current strategies that we've included in our approach, like Dr. Treadwell said, I've been here since the first week of March. And so only 2 months, but since I have been here, some of the strategies that we've rolled out are that we want to incorporate the dual capacity building framework for family school partnerships in everything that we do. We want to increase communication between schools and families, provide opportunities for collaboration between schools and families, and foster community partnerships to provide resources and services. So when talking about the dual capacity building framework, you all have heard this multiple times in the other presentations, but basically it's focused on that two-way growth of building that staff capacity and building that family confidence, skills, and trust in schools, while centering everything that we do on the co-creation and shared responsibility between our families and schools, and not just having it be a school or family, but a both. And so we have really broken down everything that we do, focused around those 4 C areas under the policy and program goals. And that's going to be the capabilities, the connections, the cognition, and the confidence. And so how we've kind of set that up is under GCSC family engagement, when it comes to capabilities and building those skills and knowledge, we are setting up parent training and workshops. We want to be able to provide literacy classes for our parents. We want to provide parent empowerment trainings. It's not just about them learning to read better or to support their students with their academics, but also empowering them to really be the experts on their children. For connections, we want to kind of build those networks and have that home to school connection. So we have FACE coordinator and liaisons, which we'll talk about in a second, as well as our regional stakeholder group. Every school has a parent newsletter, and then we're working on setting up some parents' night out, just for that adult wellness aspect. When it comes to cognition, so our shifts in beliefs and values, we really are centering restorative practices. There has been kind of a punitive approach to things. And so restorative practices being taught, we can't expect folks to do what they don't know. And so teaching restorative practices across the board with our staff, but also with our parents. So having parent support workshops, the power of partnership parent conference that's coming up, as well as providing parent surveys to get meaningful and actionable feedback. And for confidence, building the self-efficacy of our parents, increasing that capacity. So creating a summer needs assessment for some of the families who may need some support over the summer this year, setting up focus groups, providing volunteer opportunities, as well as leadership opportunities. We don't want just adults to come in and work, but we want them to know that they are the leaders and that they can really be out in front of other parents. And so that is kind of how we have family engagement structured at GCSC as of now. So increased communication is another one of our strategies. And some of the things that we've worked on is we want to move from so many of the ways that communication was looked at before, not just in GCSC, but just in general when it comes to parent engagement. So we want to move from one-way communication to two-way ongoing dialogue, not just we're sending out an email, we're one and done. We want to have an ongoing dialogue between our schools and our families. We want to move from just we're sending a flyer for an event, or we're throwing something in your book bag, to making sure that our community is technologically savvy and up to date. And so digital communication platforms and apps and real-time updates. And we have an awesome communications team that actually works with our FACE liaisons as well. We want to move from only contacting families when problems arise to consistent positive outreach from our teachers, from our administrators, from our FACE liaisons, because relationships are extremely important. And then I know someone else mentioned that formal jargon, that heavy language that we see using acronyms. No, we want to have clear, friendly, and accessible language for our parents. We also want to have move from limited family input on school initiatives to actually giving them the space to co-create and provide their opinion and ideas for school programs. Scheduled parent-teacher conferences shouldn't be the only times that your parents are able to talk to your teachers. So we want to have those flexible communication options available. We want to move from viewing families as recipients of information to viewing them as valuable. They have information to share. So they are literally co-educators. We can look at them as co-educators, or we can look at the teachers as co-parents. But it all comes down to that partnership piece. And then we want to move from communications that are designed for what people think are typical families, but we want to make sure that it's culturally responsive and linguistically inclusive for all of our parents and families. And then we want to to move from passive website updates to interactive online hubs, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and then from one size fits all communications to very personalized and differentiated communication based on those family needs. So our parent hub is something that we are getting off the ground. It's live now, but we are working on ensuring that our parents have access to resources, and not just access to what events are coming up, but actual access to resources that they need. And so, of course, we have the dual capacity building framework there because we want parents to get familiar with that language and what the framework is. But we also have information, and as you can see, everything is listed under those 4 C's. So they will be able to go under connections, collaboration, and that will help them to develop the language of the dual capacity building framework. And so there's also information for them to be able to use. Skyward is our student information system, to be able to use that system and navigate. So anything that we feel like parents would benefit from, our regional stakeholder group weighs in on what should be on this website. We also have a family and community engagement department. Mrs. Tennille Foster Millsap is our district-wide FACE coordinator. Our FACE team provides workshops and training. They set up volunteer opportunities. We have a family resource center. We literally have food. It's in our building right now. So if I go down the hallway, there's food out there for families to come in and get what they need. There's clothing, there's literacy kits. So we have many different things that are available. And then they also work with our community partners to ensure that our parents are up to date and connected to resources. These are some of our FACE liaisons. We have one at almost every school. A few are not seen here, but we have one at almost every one of our schools, including our early childhood center. And they really are the voice for our parents and keep them connected to the school district. So we want to make sure that we always provide professional development and training for them as they do that boots on the ground work. Some of our opportunities for collaboration, providing those is another strategy, and we've done so many things. There's quite a few opportunities for collaboration in Gary in general and at GCSC. So we recently had a very good session for all of our parents of students with special needs to come out, voice concerns, get information. They were very vocal. We've had sessions at different schools. Even Natalie, who's on here from InSource, spoke at one at our school on child abuse prevention. We have opportunities for parents to come in and volunteer to read, as literacy is once again another big push. We have a lot of things around mental health awareness. And then we even have one of our staples in the community is a restaurant, and they have what's called Silver Mondays every other Monday. And so an opportunity for some of us from the district to go out and speak with the community. There's tons of opportunities for that. So we take every opportunity that we can for collaboration when it comes to family engagement. And then our regional stakeholder group. Since I got here, I know the grant started with the regional stakeholder groups, but we've had to revamp that since I got here in the beginning of March. And so we had our first meeting last month. We're having our next meeting next week. And so the role basically of the regional stakeholder group is that these folks serve as the ambassadors. They are the ones that are out in the community, and we have parents, we have community members, we have community partners, we have GCSC staff, and next year we are lining up to have some of our high schoolers to come and be a part of the regional stakeholder group as well. But it is really our work to gather feedback, to take that feedback and review that data and then adjust accordingly. We network, and we really just build a resource for our school community. And our focus is parent literacy, along with what the superintendent was interested in focusing the district around. We really put out some different foci, and our regional stakeholder group selected parent literacy as well, as many of them went to Gary schools. And so they saw that as an area of growth for our district as well. And next week, we're going to be focusing on some asset mapping. We are actually going to be looking at what strengths that Gary has, and really building on that. So we're going to identify some gaps and some challenges. We're going to work to build those relationships. And we're literally looking at so many different things so that we can have this laid out for school year 26 on who we can connect with, collaborate with, pull on when it comes to ensuring that family engagement is at the center of our, not only our district, but also our community. So that's going to be next week on May 14th. And here are some of our community partnerships. That's another strategy we have, is continuing to work with the community. So obviously we have the city, we work with the mayor's office on many things. Our first lady, who's our mayor's wife, is actually going to be the keynote speaker at our parent conference, which we'll talk about in a second. But we also have the Gary Literacy Coalition, which one of the folks from the coalition is actually on our regional stakeholders group. Boys and Girls Club. So we have several community partnerships. They couldn't even all fit on this page. And just to tell you a little bit about where we're headed, and I'll let Dr. Treadwell chime in a little bit, but the future of where we're going, we are getting Gary as a whole back to a proud community. And that involves like really boosting our parents who have come through this community so that they can instill that sense of pride in their students. So we are heading toward an adult mindset shift. We cannot do this work if we are stuck in the past. And so that's the next layer of opportunities for us as we move forward, is seeing those adult mindset shifts and really working on that, especially around that restorative practice. And so we want to move from having those compliance focused mindsets when it comes to our staff or our parents. I'm just coming to parent report card pickup because I need to get the report card, or I'm just calling the parent because I have to a growth focused mindset. How can we grow together? We want to move from fixed beliefs about what parents and families can do. I know those were some of the questions that were being dropped in earlier. Do you believe that they have the capacity or the capability, to an asset-based belief that recognizes that our parents, regardless of background, do have strengths and potential. And we want to see adults or families as partners and co-educators and not just outsiders or clients coming in to pick their students up. And so we are really shifting mindsets, and I'll let you guys read through these on your own, but we're shifting the mindset from having that collaboration and that partnership as an optional thing to something that's really going to be embedded in our professional learning and our family engagement efforts. It's no longer a negotiable for our families to be centered in this work. And we are going to do that by focusing on our staff and our parents and ensuring that both are prepared for this shift. So some of our upcoming initiatives, I'll let you talk about this, Dr. Treadwell.
Sure. So we are looking to partner with local organizations and or universities to launch a GED program here at Gary Community School Corporation, really to try to connect those dots for parents. We actually had a parent come to a board meeting a few months ago, really advocating for the revitalization of the parent advisory councils. And I said, yes, and thank you, because that is another bridge for families to have voice and really collaborating within those schools. And so we're looking to bring Breathe Life back into those because they're wanting to connect and they're wanting to be a part of the school community and share their expertise. And we want that too. We're looking to push parent focused and parent led events. Again, parent conferences, and Ms. Adams is going to talk a little bit about our inaugural one that we're launching on May 31st. I don't want to go back to March. And then really identifying just some ongoing parent workshops and classes, just to really partner with our parents. I'll give another quick example. One of the challenges that we saw over the last few years is that when students would leave our early childhood center, oftentimes they were not coming to Gary Community School Corporation. They were going to some of the local charter schools and things of that nature. And while we're excited that they're enrolling in kindergarten, we want them to stay here. And so we partner and we started talking to some of our parents. We've been talking to them all year, and they're like, we don't even know what schools are available within the district because many of them don't have other students within the district. And so we're having a kindergarten roundup next week where a principal or assistant principal and a teacher is going to come to the Early Childhood Center to talk a little bit and really brag on their school as a way to engage with them so that we can hear what they're looking for in the school, but also share what we offer because we have some amazing things going on. We're going to have horses there from the local farm. It is going to be a fun time. The principal is going to dress up as, I think, Woody or someone from Toy Story, just to kind of connect all of the dots for families. But we plan to have ongoing parent workshops and classes in the middle of the day, as well as opportunities for evening for those parents that have to work during the day. And so we're excited about really, no pun intended, boots on the ground. And Crystal's on here. She's been wearing boots and she's been going around publicizing the event to really get parents engaged on a deeper level. The last piece I'll say is most of this year, if you know anything about taking a district over after state takeover, is that many things that are happening this year really has been focused on building systems and structures and processes, accountability measures, administrative guidelines, mindset shifts, relationship building. Has been a lot. It has been the very vein of our existence right now, right? We're building bridges, as the PowerPoint slide said, and not just with external folks, but really with internal folks, because our superintendent, the entire core team, we're not Gary natives. And so we're learning so much about what has been and what the desires are to move this work forward. And this grant and the work of this grant is just a piece of that puzzle to really help us restore what has been and what is so deserving for the Gary Community School Corporation.
So I will talk a little bit about our inaugural conference. We are having the Power of Partnership Conference this month, Saturday, May 31st. It is going to be the first parent conference that GCSE has had, and we are opening it not just to our district, but also to our city. Like Dr. Treadwell said, we have parents here that don't send their students to GCSE. And so my idea was to open it even to, if you have littles, I want you to see how GCSE is set up. And so we are going to have some academic support topics, some restorative practice, some advocacy and leadership. Like I said, the mayor's wife, the first lady of Gary, is going to be our keynote speaker, but it's really going to be around fostering academic success and emotional well-being, both at home and at school, and how our adults, whether parents or staff, partner to ensure the success of our students. Adult wellness is going to be centered. We're going to make sure they have fun, they have food, they're going to be able to participate in sessions. And then there's also going to be a resource fair with our folks from the community, our community organizations that will be out to kind of provide them with some resources. And that's going to, once again, build that self-efficacy. So that'll be coming up on Saturday, May 31st. And that is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Before you go to,
yes.
I do want to just center this here and why it was important for us to have First Lady Melton as the keynote. So since last year, since the mayor has been in office, she has a passion for literacy as well. And so she's been trying to launch and connect with the district to start it's called the Literacy Task Force. And we got it off the ground. I want to say in February, we had an orientation. So parents, local community members come in and they read and they volunteer to read to our students. And so they read to and with. And so it's very important to really connect those dots with the greater community, because she's always talking about it every chance she gets. And she so graciously accepted the opportunity really as a face for the city, but really saying, hey, we're partnering with Gary Community School Corporation with not only their focus on literacy, but also my passion for it. And so we're excited about what she's going to say. She has some great ideas about how she wants to see the city revived through literacy initiatives. And so I just wanted to let you guys know, like, it wasn't just that we wanted the face of the mayor's wife here. No, she believes in this work. And we currently have about 10 volunteers right now in all of our elementary schools, and we're looking to expand going into the next year. So I wanted to share that.
All right, and that is it for us. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, I will turn it back over to Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I am a product of Gary Community School Corporation, and the facts that you provided, some of them I wasn't aware of. So thank you for that. And as you continue to open your doors to your families and shifting mindset and increasing your literacy goals, your family engagement efforts are really showing in the increasing that as well. So thank you. Now, I want to just thank everybody for staying a little bit past our time. But as we come to a close, I want to remind you guys to reach out. For those who requested templates or tools, that's my contact information. And you can reach out to me and I could point you in the right direction, or I'm going to send you the actual templates and tools that are sent to me if you want that as well. If you think about something and you want to connect with a model site, you want to connect with Carla, reach out to me and I will point you in the right direction. We do have the Family Effect monthly newsletter that goes out every month, the last Friday of the month, I believe, or the fourth Friday. If you want to be involved in that, stay connected. You can also reach us at insource.org. That is our website. Next slide. And we will love your feedback. As you know, that we are grant funded, and all data we receive is great. And we will know where we did great in and where we could actually, improve it. So please take the time to complete the feedback. Those who do not have their actual phones handy, I will put that link in the chat as well. Next slide. And I just want to thank you for attending the conference. Thank you. Hopefully you took some tangible ideas, some tools from Carla, from the model sites that you would implement and sustain family engagement in your district. Family engagement is not a one-time initiative. It's an ongoing commitment. Family engagement is a strategy and not a goal. So let's work together to continue to sustain meaningful connections and help every student thrive. Thank you, and happy Teacher Appreciation Week.